Good morning, champion. It is April 1st. How are you today? I am excited for us to have our Monday morning motivation. If you don't know me, I'm Coach Tina, and I am the founder of the Empowering Champions community. I am an ULA certified life coach and someone just like you. And I am so excited to be sharing with you information that I hope will give you a better month, a better week, a better day. And so we're going to get started with a topic that I call You Are Number One. That's what we're going to be covering today. But first, if you're joining us, go ahead and put hashtag live or hashtag replay into the feed. And I'm going to make sure that we pin that to the top. So I'm going to find us first. Let's see. Oh, there I am. And then I threw it away. There we go. Okay, got to go into the post and into the group itself, and then it will allow me to pin it. So thank you for a little bit of admin there. So happy to have you guys this morning, and we're going to get started on this topic because I do think it's very important that we talk about the number one, because it's the first Monday of the month. And it is the first day of the month. And this doesn't happen very often throughout the year. Many of you know I have a cycle that I run us on. And when we do the Monday mornings, I will kind of be like, okay, here's where the first week of the month is going to happen this week or whatever. But it's rare that we get a first on the Monday. And so I'm excited for us to have this entire month, many weeks, 4 weeks at least, of content that we can go through. And we always start the month out with a masterclass. We will have one starting Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday, we will have the 3-day masterclass, followed by the weekend workshop. So if you're in the class and you're getting lots of good stuff out of it, then on the weekend, we go into a Zoom together and we really talk about the the topic that was covered and what we're doing to dig deeper, to get our own questions answered. I work with each person individually and just kind of assess an area that's holding you back. So really looking forward to that. Good morning, Margaret. So happy to have you here. All right. So as I mentioned, we are going to be covering this topic of number one. And it made me think of when I said this, those big foam hands they used to have that had the number one sign that they would hold up at sporting events and so on. So we have this culture where you're number one is a thing we say, but I have a question for you. What do you currently do in your life that's proof that you are living like you are number one? And I know that this is a topic where you're kind of like, well, I'm not number one. If you're hearing that, we need to have a discussion. And the reason why is being number one is an interesting thing, right? Very interesting thing. And hold on, I'm going to check. Seneca, you've joined us. Thank you for being here. Happy to have you. All right. So go ahead and put in the comments what you currently do that's proof that you're living like you're number one. And the funny thing is being number one is not an April Fool's joke, right? It's truly a mindset shift maybe that you need to make to understand how important you are, how valuable you are in this world. In my community, we talk a lot about greatness. And I believe that you are designed by God for greatness and a purpose. And with that mindset, you have to be understanding, you have to believe in it yourself. And so when we look at whether or not you believe that you're number one, I can attest to the fact that however old you are right now, plus about 9 months, you want to race to get to be you. And that means you are automatically number one. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There was a whole lot of sperm racing towards an egg. You got created. you were the winner of that race. And you didn't have to do anything but win the race on that particular thing. And you are automatically the number one most important. So I think that's a pretty special way to think about it. All right, Cassandra, you're here this morning. So happy to have you as well. Okay, so right now in this session, number one is to me not allowing anyone to affect my true smile and my daily goal to fully love and serve others. I love it. I love it. I love it. Unaffected by garbage energy, I think is what we're saying there. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Margaret is here and she says, I know I deserve to be number one, and I'm working on automatically thinking that. Yeah, it's a hard thing to think about because, especially if you're a mom, you probably have I got to protect the kids, I got to do everything with them. And that is, we're moms, we take care of our babies. But how are we going to take care of our babies if we're not taking care of ourselves first, right? And that's the point of recognizing how important you are. And if you aren't able to take care of the people in your life or the things in your life, you're not able to help anybody. So if you aren't alive, you can't change anything in life. So in your life, you need to be number one. And that includes your health. That includes your thinking about how you can change the world, how important you are. All of those things are important. And we know this from a real simple thing, which is that put that oxygen mask on yourself first. Whenever we fly, now this is in case of an emergency, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to you in other situations. That we have to, in order for us to take care of the people around us, we have to make sure we have the oxygen to breathe so that we can take care of those around us. And that's why, we talk about self-care, but we don't necessarily put it into play. And yet we really need to understand that being number one matters. So being number one is an interesting topic right now. And when I saw the date and when I knew it was the first Monday of the month, and I thought, this is a good time to tell you guys this part of this crazy story. So many of you know that my husband's father passed this week, and he was my husband is his only child. Okay. And so it was very cute of his dad. He called him number one. That was his thing all the time. So whenever he called, he'd say, how are you doing, number one? And sure, it was a joke because he was the only son, but he was his number one son. And when I got the call from Chris that his dad had passed, I was at work and I immediately closed everything down, and it took me about a half an hour to get there. And by the time I got there, the coroner was already there. They had the police there too, just to make sure there was no foul play, I guess. And so Chris was in the hallway, and he met me in the hallway and, just broke down when he saw me, and I'm holding him. And almost immediately I felt this really strong thought about him being his dad's number one, and that Chris doesn't get to hear that anymore. And it broke my heart. And I was like, okay. And so I grappled with that for a few days, and I talked to God about it. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I want to help Chris. I know the pain he's in, and this was a beautiful thing that he got. And God just really put on my heart. He's like, Chris is your number one. He's your priority. I strongly profess that as a married couple, we are one together. And so making him one is also making me one, because if we have that strong marriage, Chris and I have parents that are married and parents that aren't married. So we got to see the single life, and the parents that are married have much better health. They've been together for so long. And that is one of those things that is that if you're with somebody, you have a longer lifespan. How crazy is that, right? So being number one matters. And now I am committed, and I am waking up every morning and making sure that I let my husband know that he's number one. I'm calling him number one every day as a way to fill him up, to fill a void that he has. And he's always been my number one, but I haven't made the point of making it a priority and letting him know how important he was, right? Like that was the key of what his dad did is he let Chris know every day. And so, who or what do you make number one in your life? Because it's a reflection on those priorities that you make, right? And so it's easy for us to make everything else more important and not to focus on the things that really matter to us. And I didn't want that to be a stopping point for anybody. I wanted to get you to a place where you were really thinking about what are my priorities? And sure, we might have work priorities and we might have personal life priorities, but we all have an overriding theme that if we capitalize on the energy of the things that really matter to us, we're going to have greater growth for sure. And I love this. I'm seeing this here, and this is such a truth. And Seneca, thank you for sharing this because this is an important point I also wanted to make. If you make your son number one to the point you can actually harm their growth. And that is so true. And I made this mistake. I focused all my energy as a mom to my child and my children. I had my three. And when in my first marriage, the marriage wasn't going well. So I totally just devoted everything went to the kids. And of course, they needed me. It felt good. We had a good relationship. I directed all my attention and energy towards them. And that did not help my marriage any. And things went south, and I was in that place. Now, I got divorced. And shortly after the separation and all those things happened, I did meet Chris. And I was in that new love gaga state. And God just really put it on my heart that this was more important. And it was hard. My son was still at home and he wanted my attention. And I was giving it to him, but in a healthy way. And now my son has this different viewpoint. He no longer, like we've talked about this with other people, it relieved some pressure on him that he had to be everything for me. And Chris and I had this conversation just the other day. So all three of my kids, so Chris and I have 9 kids together, but all 3 of mine live out of the state. And I said to Chris, I said, you know how different it would be if we had not gotten married. I don't know as the kids would have felt like they could leave me because they would have needed to take care of me and wouldn't want me to be alone. And that would have been weird, right? Like I needed to grow up too, and they needed to grow up, and they didn't need to be caretaking me. So it was an interesting position and an interesting thought that we were having as we were talking about that. So glad that you're here today, for sure, for sure. Okay, we're going to keep going. I get lost in the comments as well, but I'm happy you guys are letting me know what you're thinking and that you're thinking about being number one and what's going on. We are going to be covering the priorities of life. We cover the 7 F's, and each month we've been taking a different one. And this month in the masterclass for April, we are going to be covering the F called field. And this is your work. Okay. The thing you tend to do most in a day. And it might be a job. It might be your business. It might just be a passion or a hobby or a movement that you are just on fire for. And so I invite you to come to the masterclass. It is in the mornings, and we will be at 7:30 a.m. my time. And we'll do about a half an hour live in the community. And you're on like this. You can comment. We'll go through the whole material. And then if you sign up for VIP, we do a live Zoom in the evenings. So Wednesday and Thursday, there will be 2 question and answers. It's kind of like homework help and just a deeper dive. And then you'll have access to the weekend workshop. So I hope that you'll be interested. If you are, just go ahead and put #masterclass and I will get you the information. And then wanted to let you know that the April Field Fingo board. So it's like a version of bingo, but using the 7 Fs. And we're focusing this one on your passion. And so it'll be a bingo board and things that you can be working on. And so that will be available tomorrow. I'll post it in the group and have a little bit of information on it. All right. I'm going to check a few more comments in here. So happy you guys are interacting. And yes, Margaret's got the little thing. When I noticed when I switched it to bingo, I went, oh my goodness, because we concentrate on the 7 Fs of life. And I went, it's effing go. And it's true. We got to get working on the things that matter to us. And that's why my April or the start of the week is so important to me, because this first week of the month, it's all about setting those goals, getting yourself going for the month. What's important to you? What are your priorities? What are some goals you're going to set? In fact, I have a homework assignment for you guys. And let's see, there it is. The homework assignment today is to pick a dream you have. It can be in any area, but you might want to focus it on your business if you want, because that's what our focus is going to be this month. But set a goal that gets you closer to your dream and do something for it today. And the example I'm going to give you guys is a fun little thing that happened this week. And I don't know what it is, but I love tulips. I always have. And Sarah, one of our members, has been such a treat, because I told her that I liked tulips not too long ago. And almost every post she makes, she includes some tulips in there just for me. I know it's a treat for me. And I was working and I was thinking about tulips because it's that time of year, right? I saw some when I was driving that were really starting to bloom in the neighborhoods. And I was just like, oh, I love tulips so much. So I've always had a dream to like go to Holland or someplace where apparently the hills are just covered. They change the color of the hills because they're so beautiful. So I was online looking for where I could go in the United States. I knew I couldn't go to Holland this year, but I've heard that there are places, like for instance, we live in Oklahoma, but my husband's family is in Iowa, and our tulips bloom about a month before Iowa's tulips because the weather changed, right? So I was thinking, I'm going to find a place where I can go in Iowa or anywhere in the US. Like I said, 3 of our kids, we have a few others, but live out of the area. And maybe there were places that I could go. Like one of my daughters is in Washington State. And I was like, I could go out there and I could maybe see some tulip hills. So I'm looking, and I mentioned it to a friend at work that I was doing research on where to find tulips. And she said, well, you know, one of the guys who works there at our company has been helping a new company with their tulip place. She said it's called OKC Tulips, and you could go and they have tulips available. So I went out to their Facebook page, and ironically, this was on a Thursday. The next day, they were closed over the weekend for Easter, but on that Friday, they were having you could go and you could pick the tulips. So you could cut the tulips, and I think it was like 10 bulbs for $20. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And so I was going to do it on my lunch break. And my husband was like, I'll take you. And he is so much fun because he loves to take pictures of me. Ironically, I found this out when we first met the park near us during the tulip time. And we would walk through and he would take all these pictures. And I felt like a little girl, like a child love. Like I love to take pictures of my kids, right? Well, my husband just makes me feel so special because he takes tons of pictures. Like when we go to an event, he will take 100, 200 pictures of me. And it just with his phone. It's not like he's got a fancy camera or anything like that. So he went with me. We went, and there were maybe like 20 strips where they had the tulips, and they were nice, but it wasn't anything like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, right? It was nice. And so we picked some, and I got some to bring home, and they're on the table downstairs. We have our 10, and they're varieties I hadn't seen, and they're just so beautiful. So the live for today, the post, those tulips was me sitting on a bench by some that they had that you couldn't pick, just to get the depth in there, right? And so I had a great time. Then after doing that, so I went back to work, and you know how Facebook kind of like somehow knows everything you do. It knew that I went there, even though I hadn't said it. matched everything up. And it reminded me that there was a tulip festival in Oklahoma City going on. And so I told Chris, I said, I don't know how we're going to fit this in this weekend. But because we had Easter, we went to church at 5 p.m. We were serving all morning on Easter and then having the kids come over yesterday. I said, but could we go after church? Like there's still an hour before dark. And so in our church clothes, we went downtown. The festival was over, but of course the tulips were all there. So it was beautiful. The wind had stopped, which Oklahoma wind is kind of annoying. So the wind wasn't there. We had beautiful weather. And we walked through this place called Myriad Gardens, and the tulips were outstanding. Like what I had seen on Friday, this was on steroids. And it was like someone had made art out of the tulips. They had all these different colors interspersed in different varieties, things I had never seen before. And it was just all throughout the park. You just walked and got to see all these beautiful, beautiful tulips. So I made a post that I was in tulip heaven, and I was not kidding. And it just filled my heart up so much. And while we were there, my husband took a million pictures again, loved it. And even we were there when the sun set. And I am not kidding you guys, the dress I was wearing, the sunset matched it perfectly. Like the colors, it was like this amazing experience. So your homework is to pick a dream that you have and to set a goal to get closer to it today. If I hadn't been dreaming about my hills of tulips, I wouldn't have seen the opportunity to go do something local. A little thing. That little thing spurred something bigger that I wasn't expecting at all. And it filled my heart up so much. And I don't know, maybe I'll never get to go to Holland and see those beautiful tulips. But I was that much closer and it filled me up. And that's what I want for you guys. I just want you to take those dreams and break them down into something that you can, as Cassandra said here, cherish. And it's so true. It's so true. Yes, my soul is happy. And I just am so happy for you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Francione, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here. All right. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a truly blessed week. And I will be thinking about you. And I would love to have you guys come and be a part of the masterclass this week. So again, put hashtag masterclass in if you are interested, and we'll make sure that we get you the information. It's starting on Wednesday this week. Until then, have a truly blessed week, and we'll see you guys soon. Good morning. Hello, everybody. Happy April 3rd. We are about to start our wonderful April Masterclass, and it is called How to Grow in Your Field. Let me go ahead and put the PowerPoint back up. I'm out of breath. I ran up the stairs. Let me put the PowerPoint big and up, and we'll go through the different parts of it. I'm excited, you guys. I hope you are excited too. If you're here, make sure you're putting hashtag live or hashtag replay in there to let me know. I see Margaret is here. Good morning. Yes. Good morning, champions, for sure. All right. Love seeing your guys' interaction. So don't hold back. Put your comments in as we go, and I will try to address them as we're going through each of them. And let's see. What I'm looking for is not on my screen, so I'm going to jump here and get us going into our How to Grow in Your Field 3-a-day masterclass. Some of you have seen my tulip flowers this week. We went and we got to see some beautiful tulips, and it just reminded me of how perfectly my life aligns with my brain sometimes. So I was thinking about this field concept. I've had it on the calendar since last year that this would be the month that we talked about field. And so I think thinking about field made me go think about the tulips. And then as I was putting together the materials for this, I was like, oh yeah, I totally have to use the picture from this summer when we went. Again, I just got a spark one day. We were in Iowa and we had missed the sunflowers in Oklahoma, but they were still growing in Iowa. And so we were at my mother-in-law's home, and I said, what if we went and saw some sunflowers? And my husband found us a place, and it was just this glorious. We got there at sunset, and you can't see in this picture, but it was just beautiful the way the sun was highlighting the sunflowers. And of course, it's this beautiful field. And so as we talk about field, which you're going to learn more about what that means and so on, I want you to be imagining, just like standing out in the field and see what that does for you, because this was a very exciting experience for me. I envisioned what it was going to be like, but when we got there, it was just miraculous. All right. Well, we're going to talk about what we're doing in our event today. And today's topic is planting your seeds of greatness. So we're going to start out with the theme of seed, and then we're going to go on day 2 into kind of the nourish and nature world of what do you do when you have a seed, right? You want to plant it, but you got to plant it in good soil. So you are good soil is our theme for day 2. And then on day 3, we're talking about that harvest, the natural. What you plant, what you reap is what you sow, right? The gathering of what we have done, the fruits of our labor. And that's a natural process. So we're calling it nature. So looking forward to that process. And I'm going to look at the comments here. Cassandra, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you. And then Yvonne is with us as well. So you guys are awesome. So happy you're here. Let's keep going with the PowerPoint. And that is not supposed to be there. So that'll be the last slide that didn't get moved into the right place. What we do want to do, though, is talk about the outcome. And what I'm really hoping that this discussion, that especially today, we're going to talk about growing your field, but we want to align our field, our goals with the things in your life that have created a path for your unique offering. So the outcome of just the part today is really just getting clarity on what is a field, what is your field, and then how are you going to work with all the things that you have. You guys know I like to talk about greatness. So how are we going to take your greatness and package it up? And so we're going to talk about that today, and of course the next 2 days, and then the deep dive in our weekend workshop on Saturday. All right, so I have I'm going to define field for a second here. Field is either, we like to do the 7 F's in the ULA framework. And all of the key areas of life start with an F, and they have fitness, finance, family, and then field. So of course they needed an F, but I always like to think of, in fact, I went searching for the origin of when we started calling field work. And it has to do with the agricultural environment. And, of course, that's where we started with. But then, of course, we got in the industrial world and different things. But we still use the term field as our particular type of work. And I love to think of it as like the boundaries that we place around ourselves as to like, this is where we put our stake in the ground. And in ULA, we have this F, the field. We also have faith, friends, and fun, which make us real special, I think. But in the area of field, this can be your career, your job, sure. The thing you do maybe 8 hours a day, or it can be your business, the thing that you do or want to do. And maybe it's more than 8 hours a day, right? We all want the 4-hour work week, but the reality is business requires a lot of time and energy, especially in the beginning. So your field can be your business. And if you don't have a job yet or right now or a business right now, what you probably have is a passion. And this is what we spend our time on. What is it that you would do if you didn't have any of the requirements of the world, if you didn't have any responsibilities? How would you occupy your day? What work would you do that gratifies you? And that's like the gamut of field for me. Some of you know I have a job, so I work 8 hours a day. I have multiple businesses that I do around my work time, before and after work, which is what I'm doing here. And then we have passion. We have our desires, our things that light us up, the things that give us energy to do it. Not I have to go to work, but I get to enjoy this part of my life. And when we bring those close together, we have really good results. So I have a question for you, and that is, where do you spend the most of your time, or where do you wish you spent the most of your time? If all things were erased, and you woke up in the morning, what would you gravitate towards? What would not even feel like work to you? That, in my mind, is really the definition of field. In fact, I read a book that was absolutely fantastic. It's called Anastasia, and it's a Russian woman that a forester found. He was a businessman. The whole idea of the story is that when Russia became where they could have their own businesses, he went out looking. He had heard of these cedar trees, and the cedar trees were deep in the forests in Russia, and they were ringing. And the idea was that at 100 or so years, these cedars would start to ring, and that meant that they only had a few more years to go, and they were trying to get their energy out. And so by cutting them, he was able to take them and make them into jewelry and so on, that allowed him to profit in his business. Well, he meets this woman, Anastasia, and then he writes this series of books about his experience. And I got to tell you, I can't tell by reading the series whether it's a true story or total fiction, because it just kind of blends all this beautiful stuff in. But she is this old soul that lives out in the middle of the tundra, and she communes with the animals, and she does all these things, and she has this unique position on what life is about. And she talks about how all of us are supposed to have a place in the land. We're supposed to have our part, and we're supposed to work in the soil. And so when I was talking about field and this, that always comes to mind. Like, metaphorically, what is your thing that has been gifted to you, your plot of land that is unique to you, that only you could grow? So I love you guys are putting in the answer to the question. Thank you. So Yvonne is working teaching Pilates. She loves her job and would like to spend more time working on her health coaching business. Yes, we're going to talk about kind of that balance there. And then Margaret says she wishes she spent the most of her time creating and helping people. She spends a good amount of time doing, but would like to do it more. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect, you guys. I appreciate you adding in those comments. Let's keep going with our masterclass today. And here's an interesting thought. So when we think about growing our field, the thing that is important to us, right? And oops, it popped my PowerPoint out of there. I'm sorry, you guys. Hold on just a second. I was trying to remove the thing off of what I could see, and it popped me out. So I'm going to put it back in. All right. It's this one right here. All right. So what does growth mean to you? So if you were thinking about the field that you're in, does growth mean you get to make more money? Does growth mean you get to help more people? Is it that growing means you get to improve your skills? Is it that you're accomplishment driven, right? You want to reach a higher level. Like those sunflowers, right? They're striving to get as close to the sun as possible. They want to reach that higher level. Is it to be more important? There's nothing wrong with it, right? Like some of us, the influencers, the actors and so on, they want to be more important. They want to be more influential. And then what about just satisfaction? Now, all of these probably are attractive, but if you're real honest with yourself, and I don't know why that number 11 is in there, ignore that. If you're really honest with yourself, where do you see the true meaning of growth to you? What would you assign it to on one of those things? And it might be that you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I think it's this, but I want this. And yeah, take note of that and really just kind of be like, okay, this is what I mean. Because until you're honest with yourself about what it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're not going to get the results you're looking for anyway. So let's be brutally honest, if you will, so that you can move forward. Okay, Margaret says all of them except 5. She doesn't want to become more important, except to herself. Interesting. Nice catch there. I like that. We've got help more people and make more money. Okay. And then 1, become more important. Yes. And here's the cool thing is we're all different. We all get to have our own answer to this. And it isn't a judgment. I really want you to know this is a safe space. So as you're saying this, it's okay that you want to become more important. It's okay if you don't want to become important. All of those are good things. So what we want to do is take the awareness around what we want in the growth and use that as we develop our goals, which is the section we're going to go into next. And I love, we have reach a higher level, not status, but more aware and constant growth. Yes. So Rhonda, thank you for sharing that. That's really great. Okay. Let's keep moving along here. So many of you know I talk about greatness all the time. Now, to me, greatness is in each of us. We are designed by God for greatness and a purpose. And within each of us, there is this unique set of talents and skills and abilities that kind of create the fingerprint of who we are. And so that is my label of greatness. But as we look at our field and apply the filter of greatness on it, one of the things we can do is take this Venn diagram and we can look at things like our talents. Okay. So talents naturally come to us in most cases. They're things that you don't even really think about that are so innate to you, but you get comments on them a lot. Like someone will say, oh, wow, like you're such a great idea person. I get that one a lot. Or maybe you just have a knack at organizing, and everybody around you is always like, oh, you do that so well, or you're a decorator, or you make jewelry. There's a talent that is like gifts that were given to us at birth. And I mean, we see it with our athletes, right? Or our movie stars, or singers. There are things that are just, they're in us. And if we recognize them, if we can capitalize on that, we need to be aware of that as well. And then on the bottom, we have our skills. So I want you to be jotting in your notebook here, kind of be thinking about your talents, now be thinking about your skills. And skills are the areas where we're trained in, meaning that we all can develop skills. We can take a class and learn that information. We can apply that information. Our level of education, our willingness to apply what we're learning, to take a level of something and push ourselves to the next. So we will all have certain skills that relate to us. And so the main thing is that we learn out of there. And then we have our desires, or even our passions. And these are the things that we're drawn to naturally, that we want to, I have a friend, Jennifer, bless her heart. She loves animals. She loves animals so much. It's just a part of her. Like, you can't have Jennifer without a conversation about an animal or an insight about an animal. And she's so funny because in the years that I've known her, I met her when my youngest was born. So 24 years of us together. The number of times she's had to call and tell me that she got in trouble because she picked up a stray on the street, or noticed an animal and took it in, that turns out that she was just like overly reactive to the animal situation, and they actually had an owner and she had to go give the animal back. She thought they were homeless, but they weren't. That is like a desire she had in her heart, or a passion, or a love. And so when you can analyze these different parts of yourself, right? The talents, the skills, and the things that just light you up, you will find that makes the fabric of you. And so jot down a few of your skills, a few of your talents, a few of your desires. And that will start to spark some areas in your fields that will help you. Okay. So Margaret Sharon one here, she has, her talent is empathy, and her desire is to help, and for skills, listening, applying her empathy into giving encouragement and advice. You're going to make a great coach one day, Margaret. I know you see that for yourself, and it's so true. Those are great coach skills. All right. Not charging your clients, undervaluing what you're great at. Yes. Well, we're going to talk about that. That's part of growing our business, right? Part of growing your business. It's going to be good for us to hit that area. And then health coaching is a talent. Yes, not everybody has that. That's why we have an obesity problem in the United States right now, right? We don't know the answers. We don't know how our bodies actually work, or we've never spent the time actually thinking about them. Okay, and so that's Rhonda that's saying that. Great. Okay, perfect. Let's keep going, because what I have found is what is going to be the best place for your field is when you can meet the intersection, the center of those three things. And that's what we like to call your sweet spot, the middle of the Venn diagram. So when you can write down all of your things, so like for me, for my talents, I'm naturally calm. People tell me that all the time. They like, the peacefulness that I bring. And it, honestly, I don't know how that happens, but a lot of times people will talk about the sound of my voice, the way that I am in real person situations. I don't react to emergencies. I'm a calming influence. So that is a natural talent. I've always been ultra caring, wanting to give to people, do things for people. And I naturally have been able to present. I don't mind being up in front of a classroom or a auditorium. Those things have been ingrained in me from a young age. It could be considered a skill, but it's more of a natural ability to talk in front of people. I'm good at breaking things down into steps. And those are things that maybe I didn't necessarily agree with or believe in, but other people say it so much that I'm like, okay, yeah, I see it. Talents. Skills. I was trained to be a teacher, a technology trainer. I was a corporate trainer for years and years. I've had to jump into technology. I've had to, do things like learn spreadsheets and how to deal with money and different things in the careers that I've had. So those are all sets of talents. And I'm really good at test taking, certification levels, and those certain things. I can get through that material very quickly. And then my passions, helping people, learning, and things as silly as the color purple, right? But that sweet spot was bringing that all together. And I found that coaching was this perfect place where I can take my skills, take those natural talents, put myself out there, and be able to help others, still keep learning, be able to present myself. And the silliness about purple, it becomes part of my brand, right? If I hadn't had that to kind of lean on, I would have just been like all over the place, which I tend to be. But that's an example of bringing in the sweet spot, which in my case is that topic of greatness as well. Like seeing it in myself, I see it in other people. And then the next part of that is, and this is really important in our topic of how to grow in your field, is that the intersections of each of those things are huge opportunities for you, especially in the area of making money. So what you want to do is kind of figure out where your talents and your skills interact. That's probably an opportunity for making some income. And so, like, for instance, my talents and skills, I combined those into the Facebook Lives. So that gives me exposure and ability to, kind of have that tech skill so that I know how to go live on Facebook and I'm not freaked out by it and all that stuff happens. When we look at the skills and the passions, I was able to take my course creating ability and put that together. And then in the area of I'm trying to look at my thing here, the talents and the talents and the desires, I can do my community like that brings that together. And then in the middle for me was coaching. All of those things, bringing it together, all that knowledge. So I want you guys to be thinking about how your things work together for good, if you will. All right. I'm loving your guys' things that you're putting on here. This is so good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And it's good for you because I want you to be thinking about these things as we go into this month and think about how you can make your goals for the month of April. Some of you did our 90-day benchmark class, are planning for the months of April, May, and June. So you already maybe have some goals for the month of April, but now you can add in either an additional layer or expand on the goals specific to your field. So what I want you to think about is how can you expand on what you already do, what you already know, and what you already love. Okay. So as we create our goals for April, be thinking about that expansion, and you will find so much more growth when you are working in your area of greatness than if you are doing what society told you to do or just focusing on one of those circles, right? If you're just doing your skills, it's not satisfying. If you're just doing what you're talented at, but there's no passion behind it, like you may sing great, but you don't like to get in front of people, so not going to happen. Or if you're just following your passion and there's no organization behind it, and there's no talents or skills involved, then you're not going to grow. But when you can get that center spot, when you can find the ancillary intersections and really develop those to the fullest, it's kind of like that flower starting to bloom, right? But that's later in the week. So let's keep going. And now if I can get to turn the page here. You got to love the tech that I'm telling you guys to love, because it has dropped my ability to see. There we go. Okay. So some of you know that in the last few months in masterclasses, we have been using a little tool that I'm calling a Fingo board. Think bingo, but with a purpose. And so the Fingo board, I discussed it in the first 2 levels in a video that I posted earlier in the week, I guess yesterday. And it's talking about, kind of like you can make one of the bingo lines by coming to these events, by checking in in our 3rd week of this month, and by reporting how you did at the end of the month. That's as simple as, like, if you just want to do a level 1 in the month of April in our community, that's great. If you want to go to level 2, you can sign up for VIP, have access to the question and answers that are going on. I'll tell you more about that soon too. Come to the deep dive on the weekend, participate in office hours, get a one-on-one with me to really figure out what you need to do. That's a level 2. But let's look at level 3 for this month. And that is to be intentional with the goals that you're setting. So you want to write them down. Always get the best bang for your buck if you're writing down your goals. Committing to them. We have the 4 levels of commitment class. And if you want access to that, you can put in #4levels. And really, not just trying something, but saying, yes, this is what I'm going to do. And then working your plan around that. Posting your goals up so that people know, whether it's in your house, in your bathroom mirror, or in your car where you see it all the time, or on your phone and an alarm. Making sure that it's out there, that you are putting your stake in the ground for what it is you're wanting to do. And then making sure you take action on the goals. You have a plan, you have steps, you're intentionally crossing off your list. And then one of the ways you can make sure you're going to do well is to hold yourself accountable by telling someone about your goals. So that's line 3. We're going to reveal line 4 and 5 the next 2 days. And obviously we get deeper each time on how to build and improve in that month in the area of field. So we do have a homework assignment tonight, and that is we're going to have you journal on what we talked about today. Maybe draw your 3 circles and what your talents, skills, and your passion or desires are. And then I want you to think about, if everything that you wanted to do was a seed and you were going to plant them in your garden of life, what are you wanting to plant this month? What are you going to germinate and see if it grows? And then we don't plant a seed without thinking about what's the seeds for, right? So like if you got a packet of unidentified seeds and you just put them in the ground, yeah, you might get something out of it, but it'd be kind of confusing, and maybe one would choke out the other, and it wouldn't be maybe the best garden experience. But if you decided you were going to plot out a little area over here for strawberries, and a little area over here for zucchini, and an area over here for watermelons, you would systematically pull those and put them in the place where the sun's right, where there's enough room for it to grow. So think about the seeds you're going to plant this month. And we're going to have a post up that asks you what seeds you're going to plant. And I believe we skipped one of our posts, which is really interesting because I expected there to be another one up there, but that's okay. I'm going to just take us into back where we are, and we'll just deal without it. I apologize for not having the one post, but we are going to have a post in the community for you to share what your seeds of greatness are. That will be your goals in this area this month. So, and then the agenda, the what's next, is the VIP is tonight. We have the Q&A at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. So you'll need to do a conversion on there. If you put your time zone in below, we will help you if you need that. And then tomorrow is day 2, and we also have a Q&A that evening. And then on Friday, we finish up with day 3, and we'll go into the weekend workshop on Saturday. Yes, Margaret, it's the one that was in the wrong place earlier. It should have been right now, and since it isn't here, we won't go there. But there was another one that's missing too, so I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I double-clicked on something and it leapt ahead. So gotta love technology. I love technology, and technology loves me, for all my Tony fans out there. Okay, so hoping to see you guys tomorrow. I hope this was good. Don't forget to put your insights into the comments to let me know what was inspirational to you during this live. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Or if you're in the VIP, put hashtag VIP if you want access to it. And then we'll get you in there. And tonight we can have more of a Zoom type situation where you can ask me questions that way. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, and we will see you tomorrow. Good morning, champions. Coach Tina here. I am so excited for us to start our April Masterclass on day 2. Who else is ready to go and excited about Thursday, the 4th of April? Let's get started. We are going to take a look at the PowerPoint, and got to find my screen. All right, you guys, here we go. Take off the banner and we are ready to rock and roll. Don't forget to put live or replay if you are watching later. And if you're watching right now, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. And I am ready to rock us on day 2 of our How to Grow in Your Field. This is a 3-day masterclass, but if you're just joining us today, it's okay. You can always go back and watch the replays. And if you only catch today, you'll still get some good stuff. But hopefully you'll join us tomorrow as well. And you'll come in and do the Saturday workshop because that is where the magic happens. This is a picture of me in my field. One of the things I used to say, and I still think it's a great campaign, is, are you outstanding in your field? And since our whole focus is about business and our jobs and our passion, it fits exactly with what it is we're talking about. In fact, our agenda for the 3 days, yesterday we covered our seeds of greatness and how we go about getting those planted. And then today we're talking about you are good soil. Anybody notice my shirt? There's an organization I'm a part of. It's called 100X. And one of the things they had us do, which is so powerful, I highly recommend it, is to say, I am good soil, as an affirmation over and over and over again until you get it into your system that you are good soil. And what is good soil? Good soil is fertile and rich and ready to grow. And you are good soil. And what that exercise does is it changes your perspective on what's possible inside yourself. And it makes you cry. I don't know. Do it until you cry, because that's when, I don't know, when you add water, right? That's what makes it magical. This is our nourish and nurture section, and I'm excited. The objective for today, though, is just to get clarity. Clarity on the type of job, business, or passion that you want to be in. Clarity on what problems you solve, who you help or serve, and why you do what you do. So I'm excited to share that with you. And go grab your pen and paper and make sure that you are ready to take some notes and journal some things, because I think you're going to find that it is really good information. Feed and letting me know that what's going on in your world and what you think about your field, because yesterday when we talked about our field, what career are you in, or the business that you run, or businesses if you're like me and consider yourself multi-passionate, or what are you passionate about? Like maybe you're past your career or business years, or you're just starting to dabble in it, but you're passionate. You have a movement inside of you. You have a desire to do something in the world. And whatever that is for you, I'm excited to find out about it. But what we want to do is to define our boundaries, right? We'll talk about that in a little bit for sure. And then we talked about the seeds of greatness and how we can look at our talents and our desires and our skills and really assess who we are, what we have, like the components of our soil, right? The nutrients that are in there. And we really look at it and we say, okay, so what do I have? What's in my hand? What can I do with what I have? And we pinpoint, we make that, or we find the sweet spot where all of that comes together. And that's where we can focus and have the most, I want to say impact, but also the most benefit. And that's where the money, the growth will start to capitalize, will start to manifest the money that goes along with what you're doing. All right. So I have a question for you, and go ahead and put it in the comments. It's different than yesterday's question, though. Yesterday, we asked, what business are you in? What is that passion? What is that career field that you've dedicated yourself to? But Tony Robbins likes to dig a little deeper. And he says, what business are you really in? So let's say you're a health coach, and the question would be, someone asks you what business you're in. Yeah, you're a health coach. But when you really dig into what business you're in, you're supporting people's needs. You're rescuing people from a life of immobility, early death, just poor self-confidence. So the business you're really in, it may not have that label that you find on the IRS form for your business, right? But in your heart that the business that you're really in is about helping people. It's about lighting people up, empowering people to go out and do what they need to do in the world. I've told you guys that when I started this whole project and thought about life, I from a little girl, I wanted to save the world. I wanted to change the world. And then in my 50s, I was like, how in the world is that ever going to happen? Like, it's not, I'm just one person. I can't make the kind of difference I thought I would make as a child. But yet I had this epiphany where I was like, well, what if I just change the world for one person? And that one person takes that energy and that motivation and that inspiration, and they change the world for their people in their world. And so on and so on and so on. And that gave me the motivation to do it for the one. And if you're the one today, congratulations. I'm so excited for you. And I want this to be this growth that you never thought possible. But I want to be that champion for you and what is possible in your life. But it all starts with things like this: digging deep, getting clear on, okay, I do this, but why do I do it? What's that about? All right. So thank you for your comments out here. All right. And let's keep going. What business are you really in? Because when we talk about growth, we need to think about all the aspects of growth. Yesterday, I talked about our field, this metaphorical field of defining your boundaries and saying, this is who I am, and this is the ground that I stand on. This is what's important to me. And so once you've established your boundaries, and I actually do this in a drawing shape, I will draw a square and I will write down, like my values, and then just kind of talk about, what am I doing in my life? And does it fit inside the box, or is it outside of that? And while it's still important or still a part of it, it's not necessarily what I'm trying to grow in my garden or my field. And so when you have that list, that identity of who you are, then it starts to make sense. And then you start to ask yourself, what can grow with what I have in this place that I have identified as mine? What can I do with it? The what's in your hand is a Bible verse. When Elijah came to the widow who was about to die because she didn't have anything left, and she was lamenting about her life. And he said, what do you have? What's in your hand? And she told him, she said, I have a little bit of flour and some oil. And he said, go out and borrow as many containers as you can. And so she did. And she went out and got it. And he made a miracle where the oil kept pouring out of these vases, things that she had collected, which is interesting, right? She was only limited by how much she collected, what she thought what she was doing. So that's a lesson, a whole different lesson that we can work on. But she was realistic about what she had, even though it felt like it was so little. And then the miracle happened. And what we're doing is we're gathering what we can, taking what we have access to, and making that, putting it out almost like an offering and saying, what can you do with this? The 5 loaves and fishes, a couple of fishes, became enough to feed 5,000. So we don't have to do the really hard, heavy work. We just have to put out what we have. The other thing that we need to recognize is what season or what cycle we're in. Okay, so winter, spring, summer, or fall. When you try to grow your seeds in the winter, what happens? Like it's rough, right? Like you maybe have to pull them inside and put a greenhouse and a special lamp, and you gotta do different than what happens when they're out in the wild growing. It requires a special season. The ground can't be too hard. It has to be watered. There has to be components that work for it. And in our seed analogy, certain seeds don't grow in certain seasons. You plant them in a certain time, you reap them in a certain time. And so if you're not in that season, you just need to be preparing the soil. You need to be nurturing it. And the other part is that cycle. Like sometimes we're just not in that place where we're going to be able to grow. Tony Robbins talks about the life cycle of businesses. And he says, a lot of us have like little baby infants, and baby infants take a lot of attention and they're fragile. We can mess up really bad with them. And that's when we first start a business, like it's all focus and attention on that baby. Then it becomes a toddler. Does it get easier? No, it gets more complex. There's moving parts, there's stuff that goes on. And then even as a elementary school, like they're just figuring things out. They don't know how to read or write yet, right? And then you go into middle school, high school, teenage years. If you think of your business in that cycle, what about when it's all the way grown up? What about when it's really getting old and it starts to, it's declining? So when you look at those cycles of your business, are you honoring where it is in the life cycle? And can you do anything with it to change it? How can you promote growth? Like with a young girl, let's say, they need to be talked nicely to. They need to be told how beautiful they are. They need to have their strengths pointed out. And so are you doing that in your business? Are you taking it where it is and understanding what needs to come next? All right. Hopefully that gives you some good insights into what's possible for you in the growth of your business. Because like I said earlier, you are good soil. I didn't want to forget to put that out there. That's why I'm wearing the shirt, because I truly believe this. And what do good gardeners do? They go out and they prepare the soil, because just as much happens above ground as below ground. And so we want to make sure that the things that are growing, that the root system isn't rotting, isn't diseased, isn't compromised in some way. So we do that by preparing the soil. Like if you define your boundaries and you're looking at your field, and your field is like full of rocks, before you can plant anything in it, you got to take some time to get in there and pull those rocks out. You got to get a hoe and beat at the ground. You got to do a lot of excess stuff, right? So I hope that makes sense to you as you look at your work that you do and you think about, like if you're a gardener and you're in your garden and you've tilled the soil and it's that rich, dark, it's got enough water, but not too muddy, that whole thing. And you can dig in and you can just like feel it in your hands. It's got that coolness. You want that environment for your business. When you can declare that you are good soil and you have good soil, you have the systems in place to make what you're working on grow, you will start to see what you're wanting, that thing that you're craving, the fruit of your work will appear. All right. It starts with a lot of clarity though. And so we already defined our business and the business that we're really in. And now you need some clarity around the problem that you solve. Okay. People don't buy products. People buy solutions. You don't go to the store and, well, sometimes we go to the store, right? And we're marketed stuff that we didn't need. But most of the time we have a problem. We need food from the grocery store, right? So we go to the store. We need a new pair of shoes. We go to the shoe store. So they are solving problems for us. You solve a problem for your current or future customer. And it's taken me a lot of years to get that when we can define the problem that we solve, that is going to be what elevates your business. So spend some time on this. Later, if you're watching the replay, you'll want to put in a pause on this one and just really write out. And maybe you solve 10 problems. And so get a list of what it is that you do, what problem you solve. And the next thing is, who do you help? Who do you solve that problem for? Now, you might solve a lot of problems, but each one has kind of a avatar or a pattern of who you help. Young moms, women whose kids have gone off to college, young marriages, older marriages. When you can define that, that will help you in your marketing. And the people who have the problem will see in your information that you are talking directly to them, and they will be like, okay, I get it. And then get really clear on the why you do what you want to do, right? Your business, your passion, even your career. If you don't have a real strong why, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to be frustrated, unfulfilled, not satisfied. And so when you dig, Dean Graziosi does the 7 levels of why. Ask yourself, why do you do what you do? And then when you get an answer, why is that the answer? Why is that the answer? And you just keep asking yourself until you peel the layers of the onion to really get at your why of why you do your business. When you have crystal clear clarity on that, I love that imagery, because when you're digging in that field, we have some diamond mining areas in areas near us. So I'm in Oklahoma, and in Arkansas, you can go and dig for diamonds. And they're these beautiful rocks. And I think somebody found like a 20,000 carat diamond not too long ago. But you got to dig it up. You got to be the right place at the right time. And it takes work. Okay. Very much like what we're talking about. But why? Why is it important? Okay, so some of you know that we do the Fingo board in our community, and Fingo is like bingo, but it has a purpose. But when you cross off the items on the line and get your Fingo, you are actually achieving a set of goals. You have a path to an outcome. And so we talked about how just being in the masterclass can get you this month, and doing the things that we're talking about, setting your goals and so on, will get you some lines on the board. Being a VIP will as well. And we revealed yesterday line 3, where we talked about how to put your goals and get them where you need them. But today we're taking the information that we've talked about, and we are focused on our clear direction, our clarity. So that comes when we can define what it is we do. What is our field? Whether it's with your boundary markers on a piece of paper, or you being able to clearly explain to somebody what it is you do, then knowing what business you're really in, right? So your skills, your talents, all the things that you bring to the table, what's in your hand, and then what problem you solve. When you can explain that, when you can clearly let people know what you do, the right people, then you will be able to grow your business. Lastly, we want to create a list of who you help. So this is a list of avatars or people, and I'll do a little video this week on that specific thing so that you'll be able to cross that off. That's what I tend to do, is I'll do a post on each of these things, and then they're just little short 2 or 3 minute videos, and then you'll be able to knock your bingo off. And then your last thing is keep your why, the thing we just talked about, posted. Put it up on your bathroom mirror. Put it next to your coffee pot. Do it on a Post-it note if you need to or whatever. I used to keep an index card in my car with my goals, so I would see it when I was driving places. In your notebook, you could write it down every day. The more focused you are on what your goals are and why it's important to you, you will start to see results quickly. You will grow your business. Let me check really quick. All right. Perfect. Claudia, thank you. You are good soil, my friend. You definitely are good soil. Thank you for commenting. All right, let's keep going. We just have a few more things to share. Homework tonight. So we've talked about all these things. Hopefully you've been journaling. And what I'm asking you to do is to share about your field, your business, your passion, your career even, what it is that you do most in a day on social media. Take some aspect of it, the business you're in, the business you're really in, the people you help, the problem you solve, why you do it, one of those things, and share that on a post in your social media. And then share that into our group. And when you see other people's shares coming in, please comment on theirs to get them some momentum and for applauding them for the vulnerability of stepping out and doing something. It can be just a regular post. It can be a picture. It can be a video. If you only feel comfortable doing it in the community, that's fine as well. But the point is take action on what we have learned today. Do something with this information that sparks an activity. You know, the seed as it germinates, there's a moment in time where it's a dormant seed. You nurture it, you nourish it, and then boom, there is a breakthrough. And that little root, the little sprout comes out of it, and the magic begins. So I want you guys to have that in your repertoire, right? So if you are getting this information and it is making sense to you and you are excited about growing your business, please come and join us on our Zoom this evening at 7:30 p.m. Central. That is just time for us to have questions and answers over the material we've covered today. So if you're catching the replay and that's a better time zone for you, please you're welcome to come. Put hashtag VIP in the comments. We'll make sure we get you that link. And then tomorrow we'll be talking about how do we gather the harvest of what it is we are growing. And then all of you are welcome to the weekend workshop on Saturday. I do that at 10 a.m. Central, which is my time zone, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 8 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. Weekend workshop is when we take the material from our masterclass of this week and we deep dive. I get a chance to work with each of you in the group setting and kind of hear, what are your obstacles in your way with growing your business? Or what are some things that this brought up for you that you need to work on? I use some of my Tony skills and we just move you a little bit further down the road. Because that's my hope for you, is that I am adding value. I am supporting you in the ways that you need to be supported. And I am working with you at that level where you are able to change the world. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a truly blessed day. Take care. Good morning, champions. Coach Tina here. I am so excited for us to start our April Masterclass on day 2. Who else is ready to go and excited about Thursday, the 4th of April? Let's get started. We are going to take a look at the PowerPoint and got to find my screen. All right, you guys, here we go. Take off the banner and we are ready to rock and roll. Don't forget to put live or replay if you are watching later. And if you're watching right now, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. And I am ready to rock us on day 2 of our How to Grow in Your Field. This is a 3-day masterclass, but if you're just joining us today, it's okay. You can always go back and watch the replays. And if you only catch today, you'll still get some good stuff. But hopefully you'll join us tomorrow as well. And you'll come in and do the Saturday workshop because that is where the magic happens. This is a picture of me in my field. One of the things I used to say, and I still think it's a great campaign, is, are you outstanding in your field? And since our whole focus is about business and our jobs and our passion, it fits exactly with what it is we're talking about. In fact, our agenda for the 3 days, yesterday we covered our seeds of greatness and how we go about getting those planted. And then today we're talking about you are good soil. Anybody notice my shirt? There's an organization I'm a part of. It's called 100X. And one of the things they had us do, which is so powerful, I highly recommend it, is to say, I am good soil as an affirmation over and over and over again until you get it into your system that you are good soil. And what is good soil? Good soil is fertile and rich and ready to grow. And you are good soil. And what that exercise does is it changes your perspective on what's possible inside yourself. And it makes you cry. I don't know. Do it until you cry, because that's when, I don't know, when you add water, right? That's what makes it magical. This is our nourish and nurture section, and I'm excited. The objective for today, though, is just to get clarity. Clarity on the type of job, business, or passion that you want to be in, clarity on what problems you solve, who you help or serve, and why you do what you do. So I'm excited to share that with you. And go grab your pen and paper and make sure that you are ready to take some notes and journal some things, because I think you're going to find that it is really good information. Feed and letting me know that what's going on in your world and what you think about your field, because yesterday when we talked about our field, what career are you in, or the business that you run, or businesses if you're like me and consider yourself multi-passionate, or what are you passionate about? Like maybe you're past your career or business years, or you're just starting to dabble in it, but you're passionate. You have a movement inside of you. You have a desire to do something in the world. And whatever that is for you, I'm excited to find out about it. But what we want to do is to define our boundaries, right? We'll talk about that in a little bit for sure. And then we talked about the seeds of greatness and how we can look at our talents and our desires and our skills and really assess who we are, what we have, like the components of our soil, right? The nutrients that are in there. And we really look at it and we say, okay, so what do I have? What's in my hand? What can I do with what I have? And we pinpoint, we make that, or we find the sweet spot where all of that comes together. And that's where we can focus and have the most, I want to say impact, but also the most benefit. And that's where the money, the growth will start to capitalize, will start to manifest the money that goes along with what you're doing. All right. So I have a question for you, and go ahead and put it in the comments. It's different than yesterday's question, though. Yesterday, we asked, what business are you in? What is that passion? What is that career field that you've dedicated yourself to? But Tony Robbins likes to dig a little deeper. And he says, what business are you really in? So let's say you're a health coach. And the question would be, someone asks you what business you're in. Yeah, you're a health coach. But when you really dig into what business you're in, you're supporting people's needs. You're rescuing people from a life of immobility, early death, just poor self-confidence. So the business you're really in, it may not have that label that you find on the IRS form for your business, right? But in your heart that the business that you're really in is about helping people. It's about lighting people up, empowering people to go out and do what they need to do in the world. I've told you guys that when I started this whole project and thought about life, I from a little girl, I wanted to save the world. I wanted to change the world. And then in my 50s, I was like, how in the world is that ever going to happen? Like, it's not, I'm just one person. I can't make the kind of difference I thought I would make as a child. But yet I had this epiphany where I was like, well, what if I just change the world for one person? And that one person takes that energy and that motivation and that inspiration, and they change the world for their people in their world. And so on and so on and so on. And that gave me the motivation to do it for the one. And if you're the one today, congratulations. I'm so excited for you. And I want this to be this growth that you never thought possible. But I want to be that champion for you and what is possible in your life. But it all starts with things like this, digging deep, getting clear on, okay, I do this, but why do I do it? What's that about? All right. So thank you for your comments out here. All right. And let's keep going. What business are you really in? Because when we talk about growth, we need to think about all the aspects of growth. Yesterday, I talked about our field, this metaphorical field of defining your boundaries and saying, this is who I am, and this is the ground that I stand on. This is what's important to me. And so once you've established your boundaries, and I actually do this in a drawing shape, I will draw a square and I will write down, like my values, and then just kind of talk about, what am I doing in my life? And does it fit inside the box? Or is it outside of that? And while it's still important or still a part of it, it's not necessarily what I'm trying to grow in my garden or my field. And so when you have that list, that identity of who you are, then it starts to make sense. And then you start to ask yourself, what can grow with what I have in this place that I have identified as mine? What can I do with it? The what's in your hand is a Bible verse. When Elijah came to the widow who was about to die because she didn't have anything left, and she was lamenting about her life. And he said, what do you have? What's in your hand? And she told him, she said, I have a little bit of flour and some oil. And he said, go out and borrow as many containers as you can. And so she did. And she went out and got it. And he made a miracle where the oil kept pouring out of these vases, things that she had collected, which is interesting, right? She was only limited by how much she collected, what she thought what she was doing. So that's a lesson, a whole different lesson that we can work on. But she was realistic about what she had, even though it felt like it was so little. And then the miracle happened. And what we're doing is we're gathering what we can, taking what we have access to, and making that, like, putting it out almost like an offering and saying, what can you do with this? You know, the 5 loaves and fishes, a couple of fishes became enough to feed 5,000. So we don't have to do the really hard, heavy work. We just have to put out what we have. The other thing that we need to recognize is what season or what cycle we're in. Okay, so winter, spring, summer, or fall. When you try to grow your seeds in the winter, what happens? Like, it's rough, right? Like, you maybe have to pull them inside and put a greenhouse and a special lamp, and you gotta do different than what happens when they're out in the wild growing. It requires a special season. The ground can't be too hard. It has to be watered. There has to be components that work for it. And in our seed analogy, certain seeds don't grow in certain seasons. You plant them in a certain time, you reap them in a certain time. And so if you're not in that season, you just need to be preparing the soil. You need to be nurturing it. And the other part is that cycle. Like, sometimes we're just not in that place where we're going to be able to grow. Tony Robbins talks about the life cycle of businesses. And he says, a lot of us have like little baby infants, and baby infants take a lot of attention, and they're fragile. We can mess up really bad with them. And that's when we first start a business, like, it's all focus and attention on that baby. Then it becomes a toddler. Does it get easier? No, it gets more complex. There's moving parts, there's stuff that goes on. And then even as a elementary school, like, they're just figuring things out. They don't know how to read or write yet, right? And then you go into middle school, high school, teenage years. If you think of your business in that cycle, what about when it's all the way grown up? What about when it's really getting old and it starts to, it's declining? So when you look at those cycles of your business, are you honoring where it is in the life cycle? And can you do anything with it to change it? How can you promote growth? Like, with a young girl, let's say, they need to be talked nicely to. They need to be told how beautiful they are. They need to have their strengths pointed out. And so, are you doing that in your business? Are you taking it where it is and understanding what needs to come next? All right. Hopefully that gives you some good insights into what's possible for you in the growth of your business. Because, like I said earlier, you are good soil. I didn't want to forget to put that out there. That's why I'm wearing the shirt, because I truly believe this. And, what do good gardeners do? They go out and they prepare the soil, because just as much happens above ground as below ground. And so we want to make sure that the things that are growing, that the root system isn't rotting, isn't diseased, isn't compromised in some way. So we do that by preparing the soil. Like, if you define your boundaries and you're looking at your field, and your field is like full of rocks, before you can plant anything in it, you got to take some time to get in there and pull those rocks out. You got to get a hoe and beat at the ground. You got to do a lot of excess stuff, right? So I hope that makes sense to you as you look at your work that you do, and you think about, like, if you're a gardener and you're in your garden and you've tilled the soil and it's that rich, dark, it's got enough water, but not too muddy, that whole thing. And you can dig in and you can just like feel it in your hands. It's got that coolness. You want that environment for your business. When you can declare that you are good soil and you have good soil, you have the systems in place to make what you're working on grow, you will start to see what you're wanting, that thing that you're craving, the fruit of your work will appear. All right. It starts with a lot of clarity, though. And so we already defined our business and the business that we're really in. And now you need some clarity around the problem that you solve. Okay. People don't buy products, people buy solutions. You know, you don't go to the store and, well, sometimes we go to the store, right? And we're marketed stuff that we didn't need. But most of the time, we have a problem. We need food from the grocery store, right? So we go to the store. We need a new pair of shoes. We go to the shoe store. So they are solving problems for us. You solve a problem for your current or future customer. And it's taken me a lot of years to get that when we can define the problem that we solve, that is going to be what elevates your business. So spend some time on this. You know, later, if you're watching the replay, you'll want to put in a pause on this one and just really write out. And maybe you solve 10 problems. And so get a list of what it is that you do, what problem you solve. And the next thing is, who do you help? Who do you solve that problem for? Now, you might solve a lot of problems, but each one has kind of a avatar or a pattern of who you help. Young moms, women whose kids have gone off to college, young marriages, older marriages. When you can define that, that will help you in your marketing. And the people who have the problem will see in your information that you are talking directly to them, and they will be like, okay, I get it. And then get really clear on the why you do what you want to do, right? Your business, your passion, even your career. If you don't have a real strong why, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to be frustrated, unfulfilled, not satisfied. And so when you dig, Dean Graziosi does the 7 levels of why. Ask yourself, why do you do what you do? And then when you get an answer, why is that the answer? Why is that the answer? And you just keep asking yourself until you peel the layers of the onion to really get at your why of why you do your business. When you have crystal clear clarity on that, I love that imagery, because when you're digging in that field, we have some diamond mining areas in areas near us. So I'm in Oklahoma, and in Arkansas, you can go and dig for diamonds. And they're these beautiful rocks. And I think somebody found like a 20,000 carat diamond not too long ago. But you got to dig it up. You got to be the right place at the right time. And it takes work. Okay. Very much like what we're talking about. But why? Why is it important? Okay, so some of you know that we do the Fingo board in our community, and Fingo is like bingo, but it has a purpose. But when you cross off the items on the line and get your Fingo, you are actually achieving a set of goals. You have a path to an outcome. And so we talked about how just being in the masterclass can get you this month, and doing the things that we're talking about, setting your goals and so on, will get you some lines on the board. Being a VIP will as well. And we revealed yesterday line 3, where we talked about how to put your goals and get them where you need them. But today we're taking the information that we've talked about, and we are focused on our clear direction, our clarity. So that comes when we can define what it is we do. What is our field? Whether it's with your boundary markers on a piece of paper, or you being able to clearly explain to somebody what it is you do, then knowing what business you're really in, right? So your skills, your talents, all the things that you bring to the table, what's in your hand. and then what problem you solve. When you can explain that, when you can clearly let people know what you do, the right people, then you will be able to grow your business. Lastly, we want to create a list of who you help. So this is a list of avatars or people, and I'll do a little video this week on that specific thing so that you'll be able to cross that off. That's what I tend to do, is I'll do a post on each of these things, and then they're just little short 2 or 3 minute videos, and then you'll be able to knock your bingo off. And then your last thing is keep your why, the thing we just talked about, posted. Put it up on your bathroom mirror. Put it next to your coffee pot. Do it on a Post-it note if you need to or whatever. I used to keep an index card in my car with my goals, so I would see it when I was driving places. In your notebook, you could write it down every day. The more focused you are on what your goals are and why it's important to you, you will start to see results quickly. You will grow your business. Let me check really quick. All right. Perfect. Claudia, thank you. You are good soil, my friend. You definitely are good soil. Thank you for commenting. All right, let's keep going. We just have a few more things to share. Homework tonight. So we've talked about all these things. Hopefully you've been journaling. And what I'm asking you to do is to share about your field, your business, your passion, your career even, what it is that you do most in a day on social media. Take some aspect of it, the business you're in, the business you're really in, the people you help, the problem you solve, why you do it, one of those things, and share that on a post in your social media. And then share that into our group. And when you see other people's shares coming in, please comment on theirs to get them some momentum and for applauding them for the vulnerability of stepping out and doing something. It can be just a regular post. It can be a picture. It can be a video. If you only feel comfortable doing it in the community, that's fine as well. But the point is, take action on what we have learned today. Do something with this information that sparks an activity. You know, the seed, as it germinates, there's a moment in time where it's a dormant seed. You nurture it, you nourish it, and then boom, there is a breakthrough. And that little root, the little sprout comes out of it, and the magic begins. So I want you guys to have that in your repertoire, right? So if you are getting this information and it is making sense to you and you are excited about growing your business, please come and join us on our Zoom this evening at 7:30 p.m. Central. That is just time for us to have questions and answers over the material we've covered today. So if you're catching the replay and that's a better time zone for you, please you're welcome to come. Put #VIP in the comments. We'll make sure we get you that link. And then tomorrow we'll be talking about how do we gather the harvest of what it is we are growing. And then all of you are welcome to the weekend workshop on Saturday. I do that at 10 a.m. Central, which is my time zone, 11 a.m. Eastern, and 8 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. Weekend workshop is when we take the material from our masterclass of this week and we deep dive. I get a chance to work with each of you in the group setting and kind of hear, what are your obstacles in your way with growing your business? Or what are some things that this brought up for you that you need to work on? I use some of my Tony skills and we just move you a little bit further down the road. Because that's my hope for you, is that I am adding value. I am supporting you in the ways that you need to be supported. And I am working with you at that level where you are able to change the world. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a truly blessed day. Take care. Good morning, champions. How is your Monday? It is time for Monday Motivation with Coach Tina, and if you'll give me a minute, I will make sure that this is pinned in the appropriate place on the Facebook group. hold on. This is where I need to like tap dance a little bit while we're doing things, right? And we're getting close. There we are. Pinned to featured. Hopefully you guys will find it now. We have a little fun Monday morning motivation today, and it is Here Comes the Sun. Do, 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 do. And if you're familiar with that little song, I put the lyrics in the event just because that's what popped into my mind. I, of course, was thinking about today, which is going to have a big event happening. I'm sure you can tell me what it is. So Margaret says, good morning. Anybody know what's happening today? It may not be as big of a deal in your neck of the woods, but we in Oklahoma are in the 95% band, and I know that quite a bit of the U.S. is involved in that. And so part of what we're going to be talking about today is just the wonder of the world, right? Thinking about things like the eclipse and what that means to us. And for some of us, life's going to go on, right? Here's Margaret saying that she's supposed to be in the doctor during the moment of totality. How cool. My son is here because of the funeral of Chris's dad, and he has been listening to the news a lot. Now, if you know, Chris and I don't watch a lot of TV. You know, obviously we know there's an eclipse coming, but we haven't bought into all of the worldly gloom and doom and everything's going to go to heck and the sun's going to cancel all of our phones and computers and all that stuff. But he came in and he was just kind of like, Mom, do you think all this stuff's going to happen? Do we need to go get gas? What's happening? So the way of the world is happening. The cycles of life are happening. And I don't think there needs to be fear behind it, but that's because I've lived through eclipses and I've experienced them before. Whereas when you buy into the sensationalism of the media to get more readership and excitement, then there's going to be it's going to be based on fear because fear sells. So definitely don't want to be part of the fear crew. And I'm happy that he's here and we can experience this together, and it's going to be just fine. So, of course, if you're watching live, go ahead and put a hashtag live in. If you're watching the replay, we love you just as much. Go ahead and let us know you're watching so that we can communicate with you. And obviously, when you communicate in the comments, it actually works with the algorithm in Facebook so that more people in the community will be notified that we are having an event. And obviously, we need some more participation. So please let everybody know. Another need that we have in our world, of course, is the sun. And it's interesting. And one of the other reasons that I picked talking about this topic today was not just the eclipse. Obviously, it was on my mind. But the sun is an essential component of life and of growth, right? If you're not living, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're not living. Those concepts go together. And because our masterclass that was last week focused on the concept of growth from seed to tending the soil to harvest, one of the key ingredients of life, if you will, is the sun, the source that comes down on that seed. Of course, it needs some water as well, but when all the things are right, that promotes the growth. And we all know that the sun is essential. That's why all that fear is out there. If something were to happen to the sun, we can't go very long without the sun. And without the sun, we would all shrivel up. It would get too cold. We wouldn't be able to handle it. The end. But in thinking about the sun as an essential component, it made me think about the needs. We need the sun. So the question I have for you today is, what are you getting? Are you getting what you need in or from this life? Okay. And obviously, you may not be able to answer that. This may be one you need to think on, right? You may need to really ponder. We talk a lot about needs versus wants. We need the sun for sure. We might want to go sunbathing, go to the beach and hang out in our bathing suit. But if we don't get to do that, it's not the end of the world. Whereas if the sun stops being in the sky, we're in a world of hurt for sure. So think about it for a moment. What are you getting what you need in life? And it doesn't have to be maybe the metaphor, but definitely the need, right? And a lot of times separating the need and the want will actually help you and support you in your growth and development, because the wants are always going to be there. The needs are what's going to help you get to the next level. Having those needs met. It's just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We have that basic living, shelter, food, and water, and the sun down on that bottom. And then it goes up to the different things until you're in the state of enlightenment and you don't even need things. Everything is just perfect. So sorry, my eyes itching just a little bit. So it's really interesting to think about the needs versus the wants and put that in perspective. Now, the other thing that we need to be thinking about is just the cycles of life and how the sun, we rely on it, we expect it every day. And that's kind of, here comes the sun every day, greeting the day with a big expectation of what's to come. That's why I do that. It's going to be a great day. I have my little routines in the morning. I call it my hour of power. And that's a Tony Robbins concept. But I take that first hour that I'm awake and I try to cram it with all the things that are going to set me up for a really good day. And I call it my HOP, my hop. So I'm going to hop to it first thing in the morning. And I'm going to, like, for instance, this morning I did my movement, walking around, just getting awake, because it's really easy to drag it out. If you didn't get enough sleep the night before and you're just kind of like spaced out. I don't like to run my lives like that. I like to get up and I like to be energized, but I got to get myself into that place. And if time permits, I do some meditation. I do my prayers. I drink some good warm water to get my system going. And we'll prime that. I like to stuff it with as much as I can. I do my Egoscue exercises. And then some days I'm just happy that I'm up and I'm doing the bare minimum. And you have to assess what that looks like for you, how your routine is going to work. But I always start it with that hour of power, that recognition of I'm dedicating that first hour to the priority of myself and my growth, my development. I do some reading during that time. And I can assess those different moments and allow myself to, I could beat myself up on the days that I don't do all the things. But instead, I see it as an opportunity for growth. I see it as I am showing up and I'm doing the best that I can today. And sometimes we have to have that attitude. Okay. Okay, so Margaret's talking about priming and how she's doing her day. And journaling is an excellent way to get into the journals. I can't say enough about having a routine that sets you up to have the best day possible. And I'm not saying that you can't do all this stuff much later in the day and all of that, but I know that the setup for me, it allows me to be the one in control, because life will just happen to you. Things will go on. But if I've already set aside the day before, like the parts of the day that are important, before the chaos of the day takes hold, then I know that I've done the important stuff. And then I can tackle it There's a concept in the Bible about putting on the armor of God, and now how that gives you the strength, the fortitude, the ability to handle everything that comes your way. This is very similar in that you're setting aside, you're guarding what's important and making life important. So in talking about the cycles, the solar eclipse is a cycle, right? It is a specific event that, while it seems random to us, it's pretty amazing that we have the science that says this is exactly what's going to happen down to the minute, and where the path is going to be and all those things. I mean, back in the day, right, when they didn't have all of that, they still kind of knew when things were going to happen, that we figured it out very quickly. But I like to think about the first people that didn't know what was happening, right? And yet we took that information and we kept building on it until we're in a place today where it's a media event, right? A casual, oh, this is happening today. And with all of the, it's not going to happen again for another 20 years and so on and so on. I mean, like, we have a lot of data and information in the world today, but it's all part of the bigger picture. It's all part of the big cycle. I actually was doing some Googling just before we started on, was it in an eclipse that happened when Jesus was crucified on the cross? Because it's always, confounded me that we have this issue of we can't live too long without the sun, and they had something happen. It's actually documented in 3 of the Gospels that the sun was hidden, covered, eclipsed, whatever we want to call it, for 3 hours. And so I don't know the amount of time that we can't go with, like, we can go without the sun, but it happened in that time period. And we don't really know. Like, I don't think it was just like a casual 4-minute eclipse like we're going to see today. It was a big deal. And I wish I knew more about it. But the cycles are things that happen every day and we don't even question it. For instance, the sun comes up every morning. I don't know if you've noticed, it's actually another reason why I picked this as a title, but the sun is now, like, when it was time for this live in Oklahoma, the sun was up already. And 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when we had the time change, we were still in the dark. And it's amazing to me how quickly we shift, how quickly it becomes that, it'll be 5 a.m. that the sun is rising pretty soon. And it's just part of the cycle of life. And we all have those things going on in our life. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so happy that we've got new people coming in here. And we're talking about, here comes the sun today. And we have tied it to the, Vanessa, good morning. Good morning. We've tied the idea of the sun and the cycles to what we're doing for our growth in the world. And if you haven't seen the replays of the masterclass we did this month, how to grow in your field, I highly recommend it. And if you put hashtag, better put MC for masterclass, because if you put replays, I'm going to think you watched a replay, but hashtag masterclass, and that will let us know that you want the replay list, and we will get that out to you, because I do think it's super important for you to have the information that you're looking for. And Yvonne Taylor, good morning to you as well. So happy to have you. All right, you guys. So we are watching the solar eclipse today with our special glasses. And I hope that you guys, if you don't have special glasses, do not look at the sun. That is one thing that the media is getting right? We don't want that to be happening, but I don't want it to be a fear-based thing either. I'm really looking forward to the idea that we can go into this with an experience that is an adventure. It's something we haven't experienced much. I don't know how many of you got to see the eclipse in 2017, but a good friend of mine, she wanted to see it as well as I did, and it wasn't in our area. And so she came up here from Houston, and then I drove her into Kansas, and we went. It was about a 4-hour drive to get to where we would be in totality. And we got to experience it. We had our little glasses that we bought, and we had our moment. The birds stopped chirping. We looked around. We were like, wow, this is incredible. And then before we knew it, the sun came back. We can trust in that. The cycle has been there all this time. It's probably still going to be that cycle. So, and if it isn't, it really won't matter much, right? So I hope you guys have a really blessed week. Those of you that set your goals up for October already, which was one of the topics, we focused on business, but the topic was to get things going for April and working on your business. We did do a Fingo board. You're welcome to put in hashtag Fingo, Fingo, and get the board for the month. And then be on the lookout. I will be putting some links in very soon. And we will be going to, I'll be putting the links in, and you'll be able to watch little videos to get those marked off. And of course, I was noticing here one of Vanessa's comments, and I'll go ahead and put that up here, that when your son was living and visiting the children's hospital, you got to make the, probably the glasses, right? And got to experience that. That's pretty cool. I'm sure that's bringing up some very strong emotions for you, having done that with him. But, life is a choice. We can choose to be sad about all the parts of our life, right? Or we can focus instead on the bright spots, the good parts. That was actually the funeral that we had yesterday. It went really, really well. Had some great information, things that we didn't know about my father-in-law and his experience volunteering at the church. They told this really heart-wrenching reminders of the kind of person he was and the things that he did to make people feel better. And really, in the end, that's kind of what we want to do, right? We want to bring sunshine, bring the light to other people. Yeah, and like Vanessa says, she's kind of happy at this time because it's a great memory. Yeah, we got to hang on to those. We got to believe that all of that's for the good. So I hope you guys have a truly blessed day and a truly blessed week, and that the goals that you set for April, that you're putting effort into those and growing your businesses, your lives, all the things that are important to you. Remember, what we focus on, what we are intentional about, there will be energy that goes towards those things. And so we are in control. What we plant in our garden is what we get the fruits of later. And so as you go about your things this today or this week, really be thinking about, what are you planting and what is the outcome that you're looking for. And we can do that in all of the areas of our life, and you will be pleasantly surprised in the end. For sure, for sure. All right. Love you guys. I hope you have a truly blessed week. And don't forget, yes, where energy flows, focus goes, and vice versa. Where focus goes, energy flows. All right, you guys, have a really blessed day. Take care.
You mentioned that because I've been paying attention. I've been noticing that I have like resistance in certain areas, and it doesn't last as long, but it is still causing delay in end results.
Right, right. Well, that's good. I think we'll use that as kind of a theme of resistance this weekend. And it's perfect because, of course, with our little field and garden concepts this whole week, I was thinking that today is really about pulling the weeds. So
Pulling the weeds?
pulling the weeds. Yeah. And so like we've got this beautiful gardenscape, right? Especially like when you first get it in there. But over time, those weeds pop up. They like the environment just as much. And so we're experiencing some weeds in our life, most likely. And when we go to pull those weeds up, there's resistance, right? Like they have good roots. They have it's deep in there. And you got to work a little bit harder to get those weeds out. And some of them even look like they're not like plants where you're like, is that a weed or not a weed? What's going on
A
there?
wildflower? What is
That's
that?
me in my garden.
Yeah, yeah. So that's perfect because that's total awareness. And you only get that from knowledge, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like Margaret, like I want to say, but it's so pretty. Maybe it's going to grow
Yeah.
into something amazing, right? And then we had one in the front of our house and it came up and I wouldn't let Chris get rid of it. I'm like, I'm sure it's meant to be something. It's got like these leaves that look like they're going to be marigolds or something, you know, I mean, like, oh, not marigolds. It was growing and it was growing. And I was like, what is this? And in the end, it was nothing. It just choked out all the other flowers. Like it had something up there and then this little tiny, like a joke at the end where it was like,
Yeah.
weed.
Our old place, we had this one thing and it just kept growing and growing and it grew up to like 6 feet tall. And then it
Mm,
had like this little stupid flower on top. But we were just like, how tall is this thing gonna grow? You know? We just let it grow. It wasn't like in the garden, but
yeah.
yeah. The weeds in the garden. Yeah. I think it was Tony just said something about, get out of your own way,
Mm,
you know.
Mhm.
Um, I
yeah.
can't remember if it's that free course or if it was that UPW momentum thing or
Hmm.
the comeback challenge or what, but
Right. And it doesn't
get out
matter.
of
You're
your
just
own way.
immersing yourself in the Tony world. So, yeah, it all starts to
Yeah.
blend after a while.
Yeah, I found myself wanting to fast forward a couple times because I'm like, yeah,
I know
this
this
is
already,
a
right?
long one and I know it. And like, but it's like, I was like, they're watching me because I know like on Mastermind, they can
How do
track
they
your progress,
know?
That's funny.
And the guy
So,
said they'll
That's
be in
funny.
touch. So, I'm like, I'm gonna get a quiz.
oh, that's great. That's great. Well, I don't think it's sophisticated enough yet that it can actually tell what you watched, like which
Mastermind
parts,
can.
the exact
Mastermind
parts, huh?
can. I don't know about breaking it down into
Right.
parts, but like they could
I
tell
know
what.
that, yeah, you can tell when someone has completed or like they're 20% into a module or something like that, but not like in my knowledge, we don't have the ability yet to be like,
They
they
skipped
watched
like,
this section or skipped through it.
yeah. Yeah.
I've trained myself to listen to most things now in double time. And it's
Oh
really
yeah, you
interesting.
told me that.
In
How?
double time, what do you mean by that?
So
Like
like I
chipmunk
speed it
speak?
up. So like
Oh, what? Okay, so you listen to it on fast forward?
yeah. And it's
Oh,
fascinating to me because like now when I put it at 1.5, they're talking too slow for me. Like I'll have to check. I'll be like, did I put that on? And then I'm like, oh, they're at 1.5. I better go up a little bit more because they're not talking fast enough. My brain is catching it. So
And it
wow,
doesn't
that is
sound like chipmunks.
interesting.
no, it does in the beginning. Like you really have to, and there are certain people, but I can even watch Russell Brunson in faster speed now, and he's a fast
Oh
talker.
my God. And he
No,
is fast anyway. Oh my God. He's on crack, but not out of it.
right?
I
And
went to
it's
school
true.
with somebody
True.
like that.
The other thing that helps is you can put the captions on, and
Yeah.
so they're talking, but I'm reading it at the same time. And unless it gets to a thing where it lags, which by the way, our internet went out yesterday after day 3, and so like by the time, how lucky were we that we got all the way through without a problem? But
Yeah.
I was doing something in the kitchen, and then I came out and I came back up here to do stuff, and I'm like, Chris, the internet's not working. So he worked on it all day, ended up taking it, and we got a new router, and it's like 100% faster. So I'm so excited
Yay.
that that may have
What'd I tell you
solved.
about that damn router?
I know. And then our water went out this morning. So the poor guy, he's trying to get ready for this funeral tomorrow, hasn't written his
Hmm.
eulogy yet. And
Oh,
now he's
Well,
down there
that's
picking apart the
hard.
water heater, trying to make it work. So
It's hard,
another story.
Oh God, I think about if I ever have to get up there and do that, for somebody.
Yeah.
That's so emotional. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I can't do this.
I know. And the
You know?
pastor told him, he was like, so it's not a good idea to just wing this. Like most people can't
No.
get up in a eulogy and just talk because there's too much emotion behind it. So,
Yeah.
and Chris knows this and he still hasn't written it. It's tomorrow, but we're going to get him there. I told
Well,
him, I said, I'm going to lock you in a room if I have to. So
well, prayers for him,
resistance.
for his strength,
Yes, yes. Well, let's talk about what potential weeds you guys are seeing. Jen, you started, you were talking about, you're noticing some stuff popping up. So what's happening?
Okay, so like I get to the end of a project where it's the last piece I have to do on it,
Mm,
and I procrastinate.
okay.
Sounds like me. Yeah.
I think that's also, in this particular case for sure, known as self-sabotage.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, we can call it
100%.
nice things like procrastination, but we know that this is, we're so close and then we shy away or like, I know for me, a lot of times it's too good to be true. And so I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? And so
100%.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't lean into it. I don't want to be too excited about it. I'm like, I'm happy, but I don't want to reach that other level.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, absolutely. 100% exactly. That is it. Cause it's like, this is surreal how things have been going.
Mm,
And it's like, this is not how my life has been. So,
mm,
you know, since the accident that put me on disability, this isn't how things have gone. Hi, I'm waving, you can't
Sarah.
see me.
yep.
So yeah, this hasn't been how things have been since the accident. So
Mm,
it's like, but they were like this before. So I mean,
mm,
it's like that ability to know that I've got it in me is there.
okay. Well, let's pick it down by knowing that there's this block of, and I think you just said it, the fact that things were going well in your life before and then you had the accident, you're probably coming up against the wall of what if things go really good and then I have to
Yes.
meet this obstacle head on again, and I don't want that. I mean, it's natural to be cautious, right?
Yeah.
um but what is the worst thing that could happen if you did follow through? Like, what is your mind telling you could be a bad thing?
It won't turn out right. Nobody will buy it. Um, it's gonna be a waste of my time and money because of the money I poured into it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know it's bullshit, right?
Oh, I know. I totally know it's bullshit. In fact, like I got hired by a band to design their logo, and I'm working on it, and like I haven't even produced the end product yet. And I said, okay, I'll only charge you this amount for this part of the process. And he almost doubled it. He's like, no, I'm gonna pay you this.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh my God. Okay, thank you. I'm not saying no.
No,
That's
that's
awesome.
great because a lot of
Yeah.
times people undersell themselves, and at least you had a person who recognizes your talents and that your time is worth something, and was
Yeah.
like, no way,
And I
you
Yeah.
deserve
definitely
this.
undersell myself.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been trying not to. I'm like slowly raising my prices on it.
Good, good.
Yeah,
So let's
it's
take some
great,
of those
Jen.
objections and, like, I want to break them down and help you see, like, obviously the trick behind it. So you're working on a project and you think it won't turn out right. Is that a
Mhm.
true statement?
No, because it already looks amazing.
Okay.
Remember,
So,
perfectionism is a form of procrastination.
And self-sabotage as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
tell
I'm
myself
dressed
that
now,
all the
so I will turn
time
on my
to remind
camera.
myself.
Okay. Good to see you.
Yeah, there you go.
So good. It looks amazing. So how can you live more in that belief than in the it won't turn out right?
What was that?
What's gonna how can you live more in the belief of it looks amazing and it is gonna turn out right? How can you, like, fight that battle with it won't turn out right?
Um, I know that it would have to be like something that's deeply ingrained into me. So like changing what I'm doing in my daily affirmations in my journal to something more um, related, directly related.
Mm, right. Even something as simple as I create amazing products,
Yeah.
you know, and be really good on your word choice for those, because like saying the word products, that reminds you that it's something you sell. It's not just a craft. It's not just
Mhm.
that you do great things, because people say, I do great things all the time, right? And I don't see it as,
Right.
well, I can't get money for that. That's natural. But this particular case, really be focused on the product part of it, because then you can
Which,
relate it to the sale.
yeah, I find that that's going to be helpful. I think that that's going to be helpful. Like, I've had lots of people refer to me as an artist after seeing my work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is a new, I've never thought of me as an artist. And so
Mm.
I've been putting down, I am artistic, and I'm still getting used to that. Like,
Good.
it's unusual and unnatural for me to say that about myself.
Mm. It's
So
good.
finding some
So,
affirmations that are related to, it'll help kind of get me trained in it and
right, right.
believing it.
My
Great.
creativity is exceptional.
Ooh, yes.
It really is, you know, and then you
Mhm.
make your own like sleep spray and everything. You're just a creative soul. And yes, and it's come to the point where you can call yourself an artist because you are.
Yep.
It's so
I,
weird.
yeah.
And
It's great though.
It is
something to
great.
keep in mind as you're talking, even with Margaret's words, right? Like, Margaret, you can be using those same words for you. So like, even as I work with each of you guys individually, this is all reparative for all of us. These are thoughts that we can all be working on. And so the waste of time and money, is that
Hmm.
true?
No,
Because what's happening, even if you're spending your time on something?
I'm still learning and creating improvements based
Mhm.
off of what I learned. Even if it's a total flop of a project, I've still learned so much on it.
Yeah. And sure,
You're
you've spent money.
you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you've spent money on the equipment, but, or the materials and so on. But have you ever spent money on something and you didn't get a return on it and it was still a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to just lean more into the truth. I mean, it's natural that our brains are telling us the limiting beliefs. It's trying to keep us
Hmm.
safe. You know, it's trying to protect you from, like we talked about earlier, things were going well and your brain's like on fire going, wait a minute, this has happened before and I've got to protect you. And so you just need to be very nice to your little brain and just be like, you know what? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you for wanting to keep me safe, but I got this. I am doing everything great. I'm in good health. I'm protected right now. We're gonna just go forward.
Hmm.
And any money I spend, any time that I spend, it's for good causes. It's for moving forward. It's, you can't do anything without leverage, right?
Yeah.
So it's good. And then, is it true that no one will buy the things that you create?
Um, well, some pieces they might not get purchased. But in general, there's always something else, usually something else, I should say.
Yep. So
So
maybe,
judging it piece by piece, there's going to be items that don't catch people's interest, I'm sure. But as a whole, no, it's going to be getting sales.
you just reminded me of an energy thing that somebody told me once, and I just loved it because I have a hard time getting rid of things, right? Like, I'm very attached to my things. And she had this concept of, before you give something away to Goodwill or whatever, kind of imbue, and I don't think I'm saying that word right, but put the energy of the story behind the item into it,
Hmm.
and then release that and let it go. So
Oh,
that
I
when
love.
someone finds it in the store, the energy on it goes positively with it. And
Nice.
so as you're creating these things for people, you probably could be thinking of the owner and sending good thoughts to the owner, and, you know, basically creating the energy into the piece it's going to
totally
attract
do that
somebody
too.
to it.
You
Yeah.
get that,
Yeah.
Jen, like with the stones,
Yeah.
it's why,
I
like, if you
totally.
go to like a show or something, you don't touch somebody's crystals like without asking them or whatever,
Mhm.
because like they're like, I don't want your bad vibes touching my crystals. I just put all this good energy into it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your statement about no one's going to buy might be translated to the perfect person for it hasn't
hmm
shown up yet, you know?
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
I
You
feel that
know,
way about my jewelry too, like
yeah.
some stuff's just sitting there, but then all of a sudden somebody will buy something that's been up since the beginning, and I'm like, oh, I just thought people didn't like it. It just didn't
Mhm.
find its home yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still radiating out. I think I started to tell a little bit of that story of the Anastasia on the um,
hmm
thing this week, but I love the story because he basically goes out into the forest and he listens for the trees that are ringing and they could actually hear it. And so
Oh,
they
wow.
they just are searching for these ringing cedar trees. And then they supposedly have this wisdom within them. But what's happening is they're releasing the energy into the environment. They've been working for so long, but now they're ready to die and they still have that energy in them and they don't want to let the energy die. And so they send out that noise so that people can come and use the wood to make things that keep that energy in there. So kind of related, but
Yeah, very
neat to
much.
think about. Yeah. So when you're working that message of no one's going to buy,
The
again,
right
we can.
person hasn't shown up yet. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. All right. Um, so I'm not sure, Sarah, right before you got here, we were talking about weeds. And so all of the stuff this week was kind of about seeds and growing and getting our gathering our harvest and so on. And so now we're looking at what we have in our garden, our business, and looking at what weeds we might have. And what Jen brought up was resistance. And that we talked about when you go to pull those weeds out, the roots are long a lot of times and you don't get them all the way off and you have to really dig deep to pull that weed out. So Jen was talking about how as she's working on her projects, things are going really well for her right now and she's meeting some resistance that there might be something bad's going to happen or the negative voices are happening. And so we're just doing counterbalances on that and really looking at the truth. So a lot of times we can knock the lies out by countering with the positive affirmations or just having a different frame on how we're doing something. So I see that Margaret popped off maybe just for a minute, but Sarah, I know that you've been
I'm here,
looking.
but actually,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you for
potty time.
keeping your light off. I mean, your camera off. um, so Sarah, did you get to watch much this week?
No, I didn't, and it's been a crazy week.
I understand. I am putting it into.
I saw your thing this morning, and I'm like, oh no, because there's also the Young Living Spring launch is going
Oh, okay.
today too, and so that's okay because I see Young Living stuff all the time,
Mm.
and actually I got to see oh, who is it? She's she's up there. Sarah. Her name's Sarah.
Okay.
Sera.
Okay.
She posted stuff about the spring launch yesterday. So I already know a lot of the stuff about what they're gonna show.
Sure.
But
Okay, good.
I uh, I really like what you guys somebody said something that perfection is a form of procrastination. I wrote that down
Yeah.
and there was somebody on my mind that I wanted to. As soon as I heard it, I was like, I gotta show her this. But
Mm.
then too, my daughter who does jewelry and she's like into crystals and lots of stuff that I'm not into, but she was talking about she's got enough to do a table yet. And I asked her, so I said I saw a thing for for the art show coming up in University Park, I think in the beginning of June. I said, so did you sign up for that? Oh no, I didn't think my stuff would be good enough for that. It's called it's called the Art Festival. And I was just like, what? And so I'm gonna tell her that because she's
Yeah, it's a good one.
I think she's trying to
Right. She's setting herself up for
there's
failure. That's what we were
something
talking
there
about.
that, like maybe causing her procrastination or something there holding her back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
So,
mention that to her. But I will go back and watch them. So this week on like Wednesday was a crazy day. It was a long day. And there's a new, it's called Whole Families.
okay.
Anyway, they work with something called Red River Valley Community Action, and they reached out to me. And since I had turned 65, there are things available to me that I don't even know about. So she came yesterday, and we did a whole bunch of paperwork and stuff, and so she's gonna help me do some of the walkthrough with like some of the social. I feel like I'm getting a whole bunch of spam stuff about insurance because you're
Right.
supposed to
It's
carry a
confusing anyway.
certain kind of insurance with the Medicare.
Right. The supplement series and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I just feel like I've felt like I've been getting some spam phone calls and emails. So there's stuff that I'm just not even opening. I'm just deleting it on my email stuff, and so I feel so much calmer and a lot better right now because things I was just getting. We had hung curtains up in the living room, and then the cat had it didn't work right, and so just things were just kind of piling up on me.
Okay.
And now I have curtains in my living room and curtains in my kitchen and curtains in the dining room, and I actually have a picture on the wall in the living room.
Yay. I know we've been talking about that one for a while. That's great.
So, and the girl asked me, she goes, we can. She goes, so I'm here to help you. What if you have some goals you want to work on? And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. And I pulled out my sheet that I had made at the beginning of the year.
Awesome.
And I told you, I said, well, my sheet of goals was kind of like not for a month. It was probably like for a year. And I told her how when they started with the home health care, they asked some of the things I needed help with. And we're already making progress.
That's great.
And so I told her, I showed this. I said, this is like, I said, that's so neat. That's one of the first questions you're asking me because, well, yeah, the help with the walk through Social Security and the Medicare stuff. And I wanted my house to finish having my house organized, and it's already getting so much better. It feels good. And, of course, the spring weather is helping.
Right.
But I just feel like something's getting accomplished.
Yep. Progress is happiness. I love it. I love it.
And she goes, we can even just, she goes, I'm here for you. We can even just take a walk one day if you want. And I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know that. And I told her how I had this goal to finish unpacking my, finish with the garage, finish my stuff, hang my pictures on the wall, and then all we have weekly is just the regular dusting, vacuuming.
Sure.
House is clean, everything's done. You don't have to worry about anything.
I think that's wonderful, Sarah. I'm so happy that you made that list. That's great. It's a good thing for me to keep track of.
Like, I didn't do my goals right. I was like, because mine's Mine's not like for a month thing. Mine's probably
That's
like
okay.
for a year thing.
Well, that was at the beginning of this year. So it makes perfect sense because that was our first one where we did all the 7Fs and spent time on each one. So that's really good.
And
What we-
somebody contacted me and asked if I would like to go to Bible studies on Thursdays, and if I did, she's willing to give me rides every Thursday.
That's great.
And so I've been watching it at home on my phone. So yesterday was I got to go to Bible study for, I don't know, first time in probably 6 months.
That's great.
Maybe not quite that bad, but it was like, I'm out of the house.
Yeah, that's great. Um,
So like I felt like I broke out of jail or something.
well, especially with the weather that you've had. Well,
Yeah.
what we did this week, Sarah, was the subject was field. So your career, your business, or just the passion that you have. So I'm going to be creating one of those courses where I'll give you the replays and they'll all be in one place. You don't have to go hunt them down in Facebook. So look for that. You don't need to rush and it'll have it all in
I
order for
saw
you.
them at the top of your page under features.
Yep. Yeah, I got a lot in there right now. I'm going to empty that out. But the replays will be up on there for the rest of this week or next week. And then I'll take them and put them in that course and they'll be available there.
Thank you.
But what we were talking about was things that are getting in your way of growing your business. And I know the reason I was wanting to tap you is because I know that there's been some things that you've been saying that you're struggling with in getting your business going.
Yeah. I didn't have any parties at all last month at all
Okay.
for Pampered Chef.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to decide whether to continue with Pampered Chef. My website's paid up, I think, through this like the 18th of next month or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have all these catalogs sitting here
Right.
that
Right.
have not been passed out. So I'm not sure with that. I wish, I knew some people that might be interested in Young Living because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's to me that I'll be a Young Living user
Sure.
for probably the rest of my life. It's helped me a lot, and I think I think I was doing better using all my products and supplements before I moved.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently said, my supplements are now in this cabinet. I think I need to like make a basket or something and have it on the counter
Right. I do have to do
by
that
where my
too.
regular medicine is because I'm not using my supplements properly. And I think if I was using that stuff better, then maybe I could get off some of the medications that they
Mm-hmm.
now have me on.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my, well, that's not a field goal, but that's one of my goals. It's a
Well, it
health
is.
goal.
Yeah. Well, but it is that you're still grappling with do I do more Young Living or do I do more of the Pampered Chef? And now I know I juggle with my businesses and it's hard. So, and I've had times in the past where I've had two MLMs going at the same time. And
Right.
it's hard because exactly what you're experiencing, your people are always hearing about you talking about your products because that's what they tell you to do. And it makes me feel icky when I'm in that position. Like that's why I kind of just went to I'm doing one thing. I'm a life coach. And yeah, if you want to sell a house and you live in Oklahoma, that's something that we can do. But too many things. I know I use the Young Living, but I don't want to
Sell it.
yeah, I mean, and I do like my heart, I want everybody to use all the great products because they're so wonderful, but it's not where I want to put my energy. So,
Right.
As you take the two positions, one question I would have for you is if you just focused on one, would you get the energy that you think you know, like, would you be able to do it in one of the businesses? Because you can always come back to like the Pampered Chef, right? Like you could do that if you got one working really well for you, figured out a system for one, could you then take that and grow the other one?
Oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. That's a good
You know?
idea to think on.
Yeah, just because there's a little acronym for focus. Follow one course of action until successful.
Ooh, I gotta write that down. Follow.
It's follow one course until successful. And Margaret, whenever I hear that, I always think of all the courses that I'm enrolled in, right? When they mean like a course of action, but when I say it, I'm like, I just did one course and did everything they told me to do in it. That would
Oh
be a
yeah,
whole different
absolutely.
story.
That's how I feel too.
Okay, yeah, and that makes more sense. And then too, you know, having the ability to they have a van or a bus now on Sunday mornings. If you want to go to church, they can come pick you up if you let them know you want to go that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm having things open up to where I'm not just at home. So I am out to be able to see people and stuff. But like I said before, there's lots of people that use the Young Living. But then I see Terry winning 2 trips.
Sure. Well, but you can't compare yourself to other people, right? Because your situation's totally different. You know that because you've talked
Oh,
about how
right.
she has her own massage clinic and people come in all the time and a totally different
Right.
environment. But you could niche in to something like a senior health focus. So maybe senior health journey or wellness journey. And you could even, you know, the Dean Graciosis of the world say get really, really specific. So you could say after brain embolism, you know what I mean? Like you could almost create a support group for people dealing with what you've had to deal with. And all you would have to do is talk about what products from Young Living have supported your growth, you know?
Right.
And just like you said, the supplements, if you were going to start focusing on that, you could make, you know, maybe document your journey. You're getting really good at posting every day. So now maybe you go to some lives or you start doing there's so many cool things out there right now with AI.
Right.
And like it could create the videos for you. Like you could have the little voiceover, write up a little thing and then have the different video clips come in there.
Okay. That's great
I
ideas.
think that would be a cool idea. You said something a few minutes ago about like the salesy thing, like you feel icky just being like sale, 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 and that's like been my thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I took that course with Dano, you know, he was like, the one thing people want is content, not just like buy me, buy me, buy me.
Mm-hmm.
So like Sarah, if you were to, you know, have like a group like that where you were looking at a certain demographic, you know, you could also be posting things like you post in the champions, you know, inspiring
Mm-hmm.
quotes or, you know, like things that they can relate with. And like she said, like little videos that maybe aren't even totally product related. You can just throw it in there a little bit, but without like trying to sell it, you know what I mean? And then later on, maybe schedule a post about it. And they're like, oh, that's that stuff she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, it's easier to give the advice than to take it because I really don't know where to go with mine. But
Well,
Oh, but that's great advice too.
yeah. And what you guys are talking about, there was I bought a new course this week and I was watching this one gal had a thing about Facebook parties. And I watched it and I was like, oh, wow, that is really interesting. And so I will make a separate video with just like her explaining what a Facebook party is. But the gist of it is she calls people for 15 minutes and it's just invite people, come on board for a 15-minute party. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Now, she spent the whole 15 minutes discussing products that she sells. but it was just 15 minutes. And I thought that's a really interesting model. And maybe it could be converted. So like, we're just going to have a 15-minute party. Everybody then knows there's a timeline. Now, I wouldn't be putting product out there, but maybe certain things. So Margaret, it's one of those stories I'm going to be thinking about for us. But I'll make a video of her just doing that little bit and kind of share how that works, and then share it in the group. So
they actually have something like that you can do with Pampered Chef. They have what they call shared rewards parties,
okay.
text parties, which the text parties I think are only 15 minutes or something, and then there's a messenger party that's like a 24-hour party. You go and you do your thing on Messenger and you leave a link and it's over in 24 hours.
Yeah. So what you would want to do is like, so you're not going to be, this is the thing, is you don't need to tell people that you do Pampered Chef or Young Living. What you do is say that you're on a wellness journey, and would they like you to share, like, would they like to learn some of the things that you've learned? And then you get them into a one-on-one or a Zoom or something that allows you to talk to them like, this is what I did. And that's the whole point of all of this, right? Like even with Young Living, they say you should pick one product that you become this is what I do. And this is the product I use. And people can go experiment on other things, but your passion and your focus on that one product makes them realize that it's like you're giving the testimony for the company, and then they go do their own thing. So sounds a lot like your testimony in Christ, right? All Jesus asks us to do is tell how we encountered him,
Right.
And then he does all the other work, right? They can go investigate on their own. You're not supposed to like beat them over the head with your story.
True. That's true.
Yeah. Interesting that we should say this, because my mom is not a believer, and we started watching The Chosen, when it came out a while ago, and she would come in the room sometimes and we would have it on. And of course, it's such good acting that she would get involved in the show with us. And she came to us a couple of weeks ago and she was like, have you guys seen this documentary on Prime? It's called Jonathan and Jesus. And it's a documentary of the guy that's starring in The Chosen as Jesus. And it is so good. But at the very end, it's only 4 episodes. And at the very end, he videotaped himself. So he was an actor for almost 20 years. This is a perfect story, Margaret, where they tell us like becoming an overnight success takes 20 years. Okay. So he'd been working as an actor, not making any money, had nothing. And he videotaped himself because he was down to his last $20 in his pocket, but he had a bill for $100. So he knew he was 80 in the hole. He had no food, nothing on the horizon. And he was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so he really poured it out to God. And he was just like, I think my life is over. Like, I'm going to be homeless now. I can't do anything. And when he got home that afternoon, I guess he went and bought a cup of coffee or with something with his last 20. When he got home, got the mail, and there were 4 pieces of mail, and they were checks. And so he videoed himself opening them. He's like, I think I know what this is. I think this is God working in my life, but let me do it on video. And like, he broke down and he cried with each one. He was like, this morning I had -80, and by the time the checks were done, it was $1,100. And he was just blown away by it. And what he was saying was 3 months later is when he got the part as Jesus. And he said the connection, like the down there on the bottom, and then what he did in his life. And of course, now the whole documentary is about how he feels inadequate to be Jesus, right? Because people are seeing him and thinking he's Jesus.
Right.
And they're stopping him on the street and asking him to pray for him and do this different stuff. And so he's just like, we all have that human condition, right? We're not enough, we're doing it wrong. And he's feeling the weight of all this responsibility in that documentary. But to see him 3 years ago be in that place where he didn't think that he was going to make it, and then to see what the story as it transpired, it moved my mom, because she was like, I think there really might be something to this. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I didn't
Oh,
have to
that's
do
so
anything.
awesome. God is
Yeah,
using him like big
big
time.
time, big time. And I'll tell you what, it just follows him around, and he just like talks with authors. He talks with people that he meets. Getting to see what kind of person he is was incredible, because wow, you just have to watch it. Jonathan and Jesus. All right.
I'm gonna write that one down. I think that one would be good to watch.
Oh yeah, it was really, really interesting. So hopefully that stuff is helpful, Sarah, and I will get that video to you because I think it will be useful.
Yes, so everything we talked about has been helpful, and even just listening to you talk to the other girls, you said stuff that was helpful, and I wrote something down from one of those things about the perfectionistic form of procrastination. Because I've different times in my life, I think it's been my sister. It's like, why do you always try to be perfect or something?
Yep.
It's also a form of self-sabotage.
Yep.
Yeah,
Perfectionism.
I have realized that I am sometimes my own worst enemy.
Yep.
Well, no, I mean, for like what you said you were going to tell your daughter, it's also a form of self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So also including when you tell your daughter that perfectionism is a form of procrastination, let her know it's also a form of self-sabotage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I can relate to what she's doing, and it sounds like she's self-sabotaging because while she's gotten as far as she has, she still is like not sure of that last step and having doubt in herself. So she might as well sabotage it herself instead of let somebody deny her product and sabotage it for her.
Yep.
Right. And she's they started calling her her wife started calling her the hermit, because she's worked for Amazon for over 10 years now. But Amazon pulled their corporate offices out of Grand Forks, I don't know how long ago. And so she's been working from home for, I don't know, at least 5 years, maybe longer.
Mm.
And so, especially in the wintertime, she really
Right.
hardly doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. COVID really wiped us out with different things, like changed a lot of people's
Right. Yeah.
social
So she was
interaction,
like,
the only opportunity they had for it. Yeah.
right. And so she's like, she doesn't get out very often, because she's even said to me one time, Mom, can we go to Burger King? I'm like, sure. She goes, you know that chicken sandwich, like they got the long original one, it's like on a hoagie bun. She goes, I haven't had one of those in so long. I never go anywhere anymore, so I don't get any fast food.
Oh wow.
Like, sure, we can go to Burger King.
Right. Well, Margaret, you just popped off, but I was hoping that we would be able
I'm
to do
here.
more.
I'm just
Okay.
pulling the Tony respect for
Oh, I
Tina.
love it. I love it. Well,
I just felt so comfortable with you. I was like, oh, I'll just smoke. But then I figured, people might not like that with replays and stuff. So
One
yeah,
day it was hard on me watching you smoke.
interesting. Interesting. Good perspective,
But
Sarah. Thank you for that.
but
yeah,
Um,
but
that's
on
what I
other days
figured.
it hasn't bothered me. So I don't know. It's just sometimes when my girls have I can smell cigarettes on my
mhm.
girls and it bothers me, and other times it doesn't. Tiffany quit smoking a couple of months now.
That's great.
That's great.
Yep.
Yes. And she
Someday we're
gained
going to say that about Margaret.
she
Yes,
gained
yes, I sure hope so. Hopefully before I'm dead.
she gained 24 pounds, but she was down to 100, so she needed
Oh,
to.
wow. That's good. Good.
I'll be
Double
right back.
whammy.
I'm gonna get coffee.
Okay. Miss Margaret, let's work on you. I know that part of what's happening to you is the clarity because you're shifting so quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, my clarity things. Like I never went and wrote my third one, but I wrote like 2 pages like on different things of clarity.
okay.
I'm like flipping back through my pages here.
So when you're thinking about clarity, what what comes up as your weeds?
What comes up as my weeds? I suppose it just goes back to the limiting beliefs that, I keep thinking that I'm breaking through and then I sink back down into them,
Mm,
that either I'm not good enough
mm,
or my skills or my end product are not good enough, or
okay.
you know,
You know the imagery that I got when you did that? This is really cool. You know how like the cherry blossoms will come out on the trees and it's like the most beautiful time, but then
absolutely.
almost immediately the bad weather comes, and if it
And
happens right there, then the blossoms all fall.
yes, yeah,
Yes, that's the imagery I got when you were saying that. That because I can totally see you have that breakthrough, and then
yeah, yeah. And well, you guys all know it's like a lot of it for me is environment, you know.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
it's
Well,
really hard when somebody is trying their best to drag you down with them or below them,
mhm,
and you can push it off
yeah,
and just be like, all right, and I'll do it for a little while, but it's hard when things get
yeah.
really harsh.
So I'm gonna tell you a Tony story, and I know I've told it to you before, but maybe you'll hear it differently this time. And that is, Tony calls people that are adversaries in his life worthy opponents.
We're the opponents, the warrior. Yeah,
Well, the worthy opponent is you, like they're there to help you have a problem. So like you have a problem for a reason, and they're basically pushing you. They're giving you the resistance that you need. Because if you didn't have a problem, you wouldn't change your life.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
So when you can see your opponents as part of the process with you, it becomes not
yeah,
so hard.
yeah,
So
right.
I
It
know
is
that,
like a driving factor forward
yep, yep.
because,
And
like, get away,
yeah,
like,
and it'd probably
yeah,
be easier to not have to deal with it, right? But it's like it's
yeah,
in your face constantly. So then you're like, dang, I either have to change or I have to put up with this, or I have to go back and be the way it was. And
yeah. And it's just getting worse and worse. It's like really bad. Like last night was bad.
mm,
Because you're succeeding, and if you succeed, you don't need them, and they can't handle that, so they need to make
Oh,
sure you don't
yeah.
succeed and sabotage you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then,
is there any way to see what's happening as a way to make you stronger? Like, can you take gratitude in that you are getting stronger in this experience?
Or take it as
um,
confirmation that you're
sometimes,
doing good.
Yeah.
sometimes, other times it just, it's not like a need for control necessarily, but it feels like everything is like out of my control at times
Mm,
because,
mm-hmm.
um, just the situation, it just, and, we're clearly talking about Brian here, and, he's been drinking more and getting
Mm,
sloppy drunk, like, and he's an
Um,
asshole without drinking, like, always has been. And
oh,
it's gotten so bad. Like it got physical last night, you know.
mm,
Um and with CPS being involved and everything, it's like I don't want to call the cops because then Dylan will get taken away. Like they literally said that to me. So it's like I'm
who
kind of
said that
stuck
to
between a
you?
rock and a hard CPS.
but
Why
They were
wouldn't they
involved
can't,
with
remove Brian?
right.
yeah, I don't know. That's what they said. That
So we've got to get you support. I mean, like, if it's physical
so it's
again,
like
Margaret,
the
and
fuck
I
do you
know
do
that
then?
but there's support for people in your situation.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know that it feels like you're not able to do anything, but that's like a trick, you know? I mean, that's the alcoholic
Right.
life that I was living in, that I couldn't tell anybody because he would lose his job or this would happen or whatever. And it was just a lie. Like, seeing it from the other side, I'm like, oh yeah, there's all kinds of shelters and, things that would take you guys in. That's the
Yeah.
way the system's supposed to work. And if it's not, it's frustrating. Like, that's, if you're hearing that in us, it's because we're like, I want to believe the world is such that we're taking care of people, not making them believe that they just have to live like that, because that's not right.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
left.
mean,
I left the relationship. I was married for 17 years, and they say sometimes it takes people like maybe 7 times to try to leave before they actually leave. But
yeah,
we left. It was getting really, really bad, and he always threatened me that if I tried to leave, he would call CPS and tell them that I was a drunk and a drug addict and all this other stuff
yeah,
that he made up in his head,
yeah,
And when we left and we were in the car, and I told her, I said, we're not coming back this time. We're going. We're not coming back. I don't know how CIVIC or something,
like
the
like like CPS
acronym
or
for people who have lived with that something violent,
like a
PTSD
PTSD,
CIVIC, community violent
intervention.
it's like a
interaction
PTSD thing or
center or
something.
something like that. They have safe houses you can go to.
Yeah,
I always could never. I ended up. I opened up a checking account in my own name in a post
that's what I
office
just
box,
did.
and I opened up my own checking account and started putting some money in savings. It was like once you were out and you found, and I went to housing and I was able to get housing. And so once you are out, they are able to give you help, the CVIC, more help, because so many times, I don't know, the way it was explained to me is so many times they would help people get set up in a new apartment and then they'd turn around and they would go back. So for you to get out, a person had to get out with their child and get out, because you don't want to leave the child, because you're not going to get the child back. If you leave the child, that's called abandonment. You got to take your child with
Yeah,
you.
no way am I heading out of here without her.
So,
No
yeah,
way.
that was the same with me and Cassandra. But once you get out and they see that you are serious about this, then all of a sudden you got help pouring in from a whole bunch of different agencies, because you've made that move. You're saying we're not doing this anymore, and but we need help. And
Are you
that's
safe
where
to be hearing this right now, Margaret, or do you need to be?
Yeah, yeah. I think I have the volume very low, but I do think I'm gonna go close the door, so because he
Okay.
opened it back up,
I'm
like
sorry.
he's downstairs.
If you ever
Let me
need to
just go
talk
close.
to anybody, you can talk to me. I'm sorry.
No, Sarah, I just
No,
wanted to make sure that it wasn't being heard.
Right. Oh no.
yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah. I don't think you could hear anything anyway. He was downstairs, but it was mighty quiet and he was playing music, so I'm like,
Mm.
I feel
Yeah.
like tries to listen in sometimes. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of a very
But
pervasive weed in your garden, Margaret.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
they're taking over, and it's like it's like the kinds of
the
they're all rooted
kudzu,
together and they
that
spread.
just kind of smothers
If you don't
everything
rip
else.
out the whole root, then they just come back like tenfold. Yeah,
Mm.
Do you have a
I have
bail bag?
um um kind of I like disassembled it a little bit. I need some stuff out of there, and so it's slowly took stuff out. But yeah, I know I need to make sure I have one together. The problem is Yeah, I would have to go to like a shelter or something. I left him before, and this was back before he slept with my cousin. She lived in Raleigh. Yeah, that's some real Southern shit right there, right? Uh, um, I had places to go. My sister lived in Raleigh. I don't talk to her anymore. And my cousin lived in Raleigh, and my sister didn't have the room at the time or anything, but I just middle of the night, he was acting like psycho. Just God damn these things. That's it. But
Okay, well,
yeah,
we've got to get you safe.
there's lots of weeds in the garden that I need clarity on.
Yeah.
Um,
Margaret, we can keep talking offline, but I think that if, with your permission, I could contact on her behalf, because I know, like, because I have another friend that with CPS involvement did lose her kids. And I know that she's like a really big, we don't want that to happen. So I don't want to say, just buck the system, because we know that the system's broken in that respect too. So
oh, is this somebody that's I think you told me about before?
yeah. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of look at that and see what we can do. So maybe
Yeah.
if we're an advocate and we contact them and find out what the things are without saying who you are just yet, and then maybe we can
Right.
get you,
Have the like resources,
and we'll put a
yeah,
layer
in
in
place.
between there, and then, you know, maybe that
It's
would
I
work.
guess it's just like I'm just looking around like it's not just like things. It's like, I'm looking at my father's dresser right now. I'm looking at
Mm-hmm.
my dresser from when I was a kid. I'm looking at my mom's paintings. I'm looking
Right.
at my cats in heat. So excuse the
Mhm.
noise in the background again.
Right.
Um, everything is like mine, and
Mm-hmm.
just leaving it all behind. I'm scared
Yeah.
of what he'll do to it and what'll happen, and
Sure.
if I can even take it. And like it's like it's not stuff I brought at IKEA. It's like,
I know.
things that have been in my family for generations and stuff. So I know it sounds weird, like stuff, you know what I mean? But just like,
It's part of who we are. I get it. Believe me. I just
And
told
it
you guys
doesn't
I
sound
had
weird at
trouble
all.
getting rid of stuff. Yeah. So,
you know,
but there's solutions, Margaret. Maybe it's a storage unit, you know, and with the right support, someone comes in, moves the stuff.
like what
Mm.
like what sucks is about like leaving is, I guess I'd have to call a cab because I don't even have a car in my name anymore.
Right.
Everything's in his name. I like,
Yeah. But
besides
that's
my
just part of
stuff,
what you're
I've
going through, Margaret. Like it's part of the story, because things will change. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's you're not in a good place, but it's not getting any better.
no, yeah. So it's like,
Yeah. So
what, you waiting for something really, really bad to happen,
exactly. That's what we don't want to
Exactly.
happen. Like, I don't want to be worried when I have a live and you're not showing up that something happened. I don't want to be on
Yeah,
this side going, what happened to Margaret? And if we had just done something, you know, don't do
yeah.
that to me. Okay.
Don't do that to
I don't want
us.
to lose
Yeah.
you.
She said, "No more sleeping through my lives. You get to scare me."
So,
No,
um,
yeah, I got it. But that's
yeah,
that's a like a big thing that like keeps like making my limiting beliefs like just snap
yeah,
right back in place. Like breaking that board,
yeah.
great. Guess
So,
what? Walk downstairs right after that, and I'm a loser and I need help. And I'm like, I'm getting help. I am working on myself. What the fuck are you talking about?
yeah,
And like you said to me before, consider the source.
yeah. And
I actually have sticky notes like all over my house, and one of them says, consider the source.
yeah. So, and that's a perfect example, right? You were working on yourself and you were breaking through limiting beliefs and doing those things. And he's telling you that you need help. So what he's really saying is, I need help. He's
Yeah.
really saying he doesn't have what he needs. You know what I mean? Like he can't hold it together. And it's hard because he is seeing improvement in you. He is seeing growth. He's seeing people reach out to you and so
That I have a circle, even if I don't see you guys in person. He knows that I like have people and I have a community and I have
yeah. I know it's hard, but I would definitely try radiating the love. Be a lighthouse.
okay,
And,
we're good.
yeah. I
Couldn't
really
tell if you
that whole thing about just imagine the love coming out of you to change the energy in a room. And
yeah.
it takes a lot. The thing is that this is where it's so hard on you, because you're going to use all that energy to change the atmosphere, but it's also to help you. Okay, how plants give us the oxygen and it changes, like gives us more to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're basically being that house plant. You've got to create that environment.
And it's like I
to
do
shift.
in like other environments,
Mhm.
you know.
I know, but this is like that extra special. You got to do it, even though you're in a room with smog, and you just wish
Yeah.
someone would pick you up and take you out of the room.
Right. Yeah. It's it's easier said than done, but
Mhm. Yeah.
it's
And
hard
you
to
know, a
radiate when
lot,
somebody's talking like that to you. You know?
and I've been in your position and kept quiet so many times
Oh,
because
I don't
that's what
keep
they
quiet.
exactly. I'm saying this is awesome that you're not keeping quiet about it. That is huge.
Yeah. Oh, I never have. Like, don't fuck with me. You know? Like I talk back.
Yeah.
Which is not, I've been trying not to. I've been trying to not engage, like
Right.
as much as
No,
possible.
I
But it's
mean
like you
talking
get
to
to this
us about
breaking.
it and talking to
Oh, but talking
people.
to you guys.
Yeah,
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 yeah. Open book.
yeah.
Open book. Like always.
That's
Like
huge.
you know, how else are you gonna get support and, you know,
Yeah.
advice and whatnot if you don't open up, you know?
Mhm.
You can't. Just like people go to therapy and they just sit there, you know, for 50 minutes or however long, and
Right.
not talk. I'm like, then why the hell are you even going?
Yeah.
Like they can't help you if they don't know your story or your feelings or
Mhm.
so yeah, yeah. It's I guess, for a lot of people it's hard to do, but I don't know. For some reason I've just never had a problem with it, but I think part of that is like the victim kind of
Mhm.
thing has played into a lot of my life, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me. What? you
Right.
know, um, which
Yeah, and it's hard if you're not a
I'm not
victim
downplaying
anymore.
this situation, but
Right.
like with all the things that have happened to me in my life,
Yeah.
that old story,
Yeah.
which like the childhood story, I've, tried to change that story, sometimes it comes up for me in different ways, I think it's why I put up with crap I do, but try to change the way I tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. So your business is not about
Yes.
jewelry, and it's not about the skill set and doing all that. It's your business is taking care of your life right now so that you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
move forward. Yeah.
But it does help to know the problem you solve, who you help, and why you do it. And of course,
Yeah.
the why you do it,
Mm-hmm.
besides, what I wrote down there,
Mm-hmm.
is it dot and to make money is how I ended it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's it's all about the Benjamins right now,
Yeah.
as the rappers would say. It's all about the
So
Benjamins.
what is your why? And like we know the money, but what's the why?
Well, my end why it's just wide open, it's because I want to live up to my full potential. And I know that I haven't been. I've been just, I have been making huge strides since starting working with you, and just taking all these courses, and just learning more about myself and how I can change into who I really am. So you're not changing necessarily, you're just becoming who you've
Evolve.
always been meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Evolve.
Yes.
Yep.
But so I have made, huge strides. But yeah, it's there's always more.
Yep.
You
Well,
know.
we talked about the sapling, right? You're moving out of the sapling stage where the wind can blow you over, and you're
Yeah.
growing in that strength where there's no longer that the wind's there. Sure, your leaves can get ruffled, but the core of you is stable and supported. And that's what this growth is continuing to like expand that part of you. And the force against you won't be as bothersome. And that's kind of what you're experiencing, is that transition between those two.
And the winds and the storms make the trees stronger, like these southern pines, they're nothing all the way up, and then there's stuff at the top, right? I think they're hideous. But anyhow, when you get a storm, they are like, and you're like, holy shit, that thing's gonna snap and break. But they're like, they grew with that, and so then they're able to withstand it.
So that's my new nickname for you is Southern Pine. Because from our
I don't want
vantage
Southern
point,
attached to it.
no, but from our vantage point, we're seeing that. How is she not snapping? What is happening?
Yeah, I hear you. But that's like, what I meant really is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like amazing. You're like, that is about to break, and just the house is gone. Like, boom, that hits. You know what I mean? And they're stretchy. But yeah, I know I'm working on it, and I'm just gonna continue just and I'll get knocked down, but I'll get up again. I get so tired. I'm so tired of that song, God. But
I love
really,
that song.
Okay. Well, what
they
we
played the
need
hell out of
for
that stuff.
you, Margaret, is what is the stuff that was cancerous, but that when the spray bottles that took the weeds out, that they sprayed it.
Oh yeah, I used to use it. Roundup. When I
Roundup.
did landscaping. Shit's a miracle, but it's bad. Monsanto, and you'd be surprised who was on the board of that.
Yeah.
Of
So
that company.
I want you to do some visualization on the Roundup and just spray it at everything that is taking you down. We want to completely eradicate those weeds out of your life. And, just imagine like when you walk in a room and there's explosiveness in your mind, you're spraying the Roundup, and it's going to go away after so many sprays, right?
Yeah. Like last night I should have just, grabbed my shit and went down to the couch right away, but it's like a battle over who's gonna sleep on the couch, I'm like, why the fuck did I sleep on the couch? You don't want to be a psycho. But he probably would have followed me down there and caused trouble anyway. That's what he does. He follows me when I try to walk away. Or, he woke up Dylan and everything. Like, she came in here and she was like, get off my mom. So it's fucking her up in the head, you know what I mean? I'm like, so that's like super duper driving force, and she's 13 already. So it's like, it's
Right. Do you get to talk to her
ingrained
about
in
it?
there.
Like, do you guys have the conversations about it?
We talk wide open about it, and
I know that was helpful with my kids with the alcohol.
so she's always known that that's not normal, and it's not acceptable, but monkey see, monkey do is what I worry about.
Oh yeah, she'll follow your footsteps until she learns on her own herself.
Exactly. So that's why I have to. I must.
Yeah.
I must, as they say, because, if she sees a change in me, then that could totally
And
inspire a
just so
change
you
in
know,
her.
she'll start mimicking that change too.
That's what I mean, like
Yeah.
I've got to set a better example and, you know,
Yeah. And I
yep,
think the I must is the first part of a 3-part. So it's I must. Do you know what
I
the next part is?
must.
Do you know what the next part is?
I can, I will, right?
I must, I will.
I must,
I
I
did.
can, I will.
I must, I can, I will.
Yeah.
So we just need to be focused on that for you. So
Yeah. I've been big on the
yeah.
must, and then I have the I can and I will. Like, that's in a couple of places in the house.
When I was in your position, Margaret, and I was still married to my ex-husband, I felt so completely trapped because I didn't have an ability to make an income and I knew he wouldn't pay child support. And I had all these, this won't happen, that won't happen, whatever. And I got so tired of being in it and feeling trapped in it that I was like, okay, instead of telling myself I'm trapped and I can't get out, I'm going to figure out how I can get out and build the steps towards there. So much like you've been building steps towards your business, building steps towards getting out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Well,
got myself, you know what? While I was still married, still living with him and still together, and before I'd even talked to him about leaving, I got myself on a list for a housing program. Like I was on a list for like 2 years before I left. I
right.
didn't wait
So
till I left. I knew I was leaving. I just didn't know how and when. And so I got myself on that list. So get yourself on a housing list for you and Dylan.
that's an interesting idea. It's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah. And
Scary
I would,
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, you're muted. I would definitely take some of the things that we've been talking about with the goal setting and all that and do some goals. Do some brainstorming, all the things as if you had the resources. Like start painting that picture in your mind of the what ifs.
Do a benchmark document. You're good at those.
Yeah.
I was working on it this morning actually. I could not find it for the longest time, Tina, because I had like the templates, like all the templates and everything. I was like, wait,
Where's mine?
And
Right?
if you have to use code words in case you're worried about him finding the paper or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Oh, if he ever picked up my journal, I can't believe he hasn't. I leave it laying around like all the time, and he just for some reason doesn't. I would totally read his. But yeah, I leave it laying around.
Mm.
He, he might get a good page. He might hit a page he's pissed off
You
about,
might
but
have some insight on steps you can take right now if you do like the benchmark document or something like that. But yeah, definitely get yourself on a list for housing ASAP, like after the meeting. Because my philosophy, my theory on it was, well, if my name comes up and he's changed and shit's changed and it's better, then I can just deny it and it can go to the next person.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Not that anything was ever going to change, but I was still in
Right.
that victim mentality and I'm going to make it work. I don't want to split up my fam. Yeah, all that bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. Which and like Dylan doesn't even care about that. Like she loves her dad, but she's not. She knows things would be better. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like I'm not even like, but like she's like worried about her stuff too.
Yeah.
The like
the
one
stuff is
night,
a story you're telling yourself, Margaret. And I
yeah,
know it's
she
hard.
started
I know
grabbing
it's
her
really hard.
sketchbooks and stuff like that, like things that were like important to her. That
Right.
sketchbooks like her diary.
In your mind, you think that it's the thing that's holding you there, but in the end, on the other side, even if you only have to have memories, take photos, if that's all you have, you still you'll be in a better place and you can rebuild. So
Yeah.
I feel for you.
I know they're kind of like, that's a lot of weeds. That's a naughty weed. It's a hard one to
you
till up.
are growing. You're like that beautiful rose in that garden that's been neglected, and people walk in and they're like, I don't see anything beautiful. It's just all weeds. Nope. There's this beautiful vine growing in the corner that when we get through all of that, it's going to change everything. So
Awesome. I like that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Do you mind if we do a prayer over all of us, but definitely you on this part? Because I can't do much other than pray for you, Margaret. I wrote down the number for the 800 like hotline, the national hotline. And, maybe that's where I start, and to see what I can do to get you help in that area without, I'll be very candid and just say, look, I don't want to lose her.
Right.
Have you just turn this over to CPS and then everything happens. But
Yeah, right.
definitely find you some, what do people do in this case?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Thank you. Yeah. And yes, I'm good. I'm good with prayer.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Daddy God, what a lovely group of women we are, that we can gather together on Saturdays and share what's going on in our lives, share the obstacles we're coming up against, and just the life that we're experiencing. And to be able to talk about the things that are really deep in our heart and that are causing us distress. We see them as weeds, and we know that you are the great gardener, and you can reach down and grab that at the roots and pull it all the way, eradicate it, that it's no longer part of our landscape. And so we ask for your healing presence over Margaret's living situation. We ask that you have protection over her, that you protect Dylan, and that you change Brian's heart. Like, if we can't do anything about the situation from afar, you have the power, Lord, to just make everything change. And we're just turning it over to you so that the right situation or the right outcome can come from this. So please guide us. And as we support Margaret in this area, let us each know what we're supposed to do. Amen. So
Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome, my friend. We want the best for you for sure. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Big virtual hug. I have a friend who had when her dad died, she said, I just wish someone would have sent me virtual casseroles. So we have a term in our Bible class where we're like, virtual casserole for you and for you. So
It's amazing. Virtual
That's so
casserole.
cute.
I love that. Virtual casserole.
yes. Have a great rest of your weekend. And
yes, you too. And thank you guys so much for your time and your advice and your
Take
support.
care.
I love you all. You're fantastic
we love you.
ladies.
We love you too.
Be safe.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll talk soon, everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Miss Matt.
Bye.
Shut up.
Bye.